And presumably you should be able to hear us. Please tell me if you can't hear us, chat. This is
I
Magic...
believe we are audible.
Woohoo!
This
Hello.
is audible.
Bless you, Maud. Hello, this is Magic Fish Radio, and we are doing something different again, because it's Tuesday, and this is, like, something far closer to normal vampire than what we run on Saturdays. And with that, I can go back to being a mod and a stream runner, and now this is all John. Yay! So, John, where the hell are we tonight?
Good evening, all. So, thank you and welcome for joining us for Session 1 of Eldritch Adversaries, a V5 Chronicle. This will be a short-run Chronicle, and basically an introduction to V5 for many of the players, as well as, I assume, for many of the viewers this evening, whether watching on Twitch or later on YouTube VOD. Thank you for joining us, and I know, or at least I think I speak for Chris when I say this, we all greatly appreciate the time that you're spending with us and to watch this. I hope that everyone enjoys it, both player and viewer, because that, as the storyteller, is the whole point. If people aren't enjoying it, then it's a wasted effort, and I don't want this to be a wasted effort. So, you will notice that in the bottom of everyone else's images there, you will see the names of the characters they are playing. These characters will introduce themselves and interact with each other over the course of the session, and hopefully you will all get to know and love and appreciate them as much as the players who built them love and appreciate them. And hopefully everyone just has a great time. A bit of housekeeping first. I have mentioned this previously, but if you look down on Twitch, you will notice that you will slowly earn something called channel points the longer you watch. And channel points can be used to purchase benefits for either the storyteller, the game master, myself, or for the players. Let me double check this so I get it right. For 200 channel points, you can purchase a +1 die for the game master, which adds to a pool that I can pull an extra die from for rolling checks against the party or to check things in the world if it's a randomized event. For 400 channel points, you can purchase a +1 die for a pool that the party can pull from. And when they are rolling a pool of their dice in order to solve a conflict or complete an action, they can pull a bonus die out of there to roll as well to give them a slightly better chance. Also, for 400 channel points, you can purchase a +1 willpower. Willpower is an expendable resource in the vampire system and is something that players can use to give them a chance to re-roll some dice, but it's also a pool they may have to roll when dealing with certain issues. So if you spend into that, there is a pool that they can use to build back up their willpower a little bit faster than they normally would mechanically. And for 800 channel points, you get what is probably one of the most important boons that you can give to a player at this point, and that is the ability to turn one bestial failure into a messy critical. Now, this is very important because messy criticals are when you succeed, but you have stirred the hunger of the beast, and things are taken a little far. You know, you try to push someone off of you or off of another member of your coterie, but the beast has been stirred so far, so instead of just a simple squeeze of the wrist, you've wrenched the arm out of its socket. And you did that without potence.
Oops.
A messy critical is basically the exact opposite of that. It's messy and violent and clearly a masquerade breach. This option will allow a player who has critically failed using their hunger dice an opportunity to turn this into a less bad situation. They still potentially run the risk of a masquerade breach, but it is a less severe masquerade breach. They're also less likely to try feeding on a coterie member, an important storyteller player character, a random hobo who's passed out in an alley. This can be a very useful tool depending upon how hungry they get and how much the die want to make them into monsters. Also, bestial failures can help put stains on your character, which can harm your humanity. But that's an option for you to spend points on as well. And the 1 for 1,000 you may notice down there doesn't work for tonight because there is no spaceship in this chronicle. That's for Saturdays.
Feel free to give us the amusing name of a spaceship for our Saturday N1 in space game. If you have any curiosity about that, check the Twitters.
Yeah. You can also spend 100 channel points just to highlight your message in the chat. If that matters to you, by all means, go for it. Have fun. If it doesn't, save up your channel points and either give my NPCs a better chance against the party or give the party a better chance against my NPCs. That is entirely up to you. And the party, I know, is looking forward to your donations because they are the gladiators in this pit and you are the cheering crowd. And they are here for your amusement. And for their own amusement. Because they're monsters. Fun reminder, everyone's playing vampires. Except me, I'm literally everyone else in the world. As Johnny Chiodini puts it so succinctly. But I believe that settles all of the important housekeeping. So let's bring everyone in. The year is 1921. On the streets of Boston. The Great War, what would eventually be called World War I, is now becoming a distant memory for some, but is still a constant nightmare for others, bearing both the physical and mental scars, and having seen what is believed at this point to be the greatest depravities that humanity can conjure. And then a sight of how much worse it can get has yet to rear its ugly head. Even kindred found themselves disgusted and repulsed by the actions of humanity during this time period. Well, some of them, anyway. Others reveled in it, and others just didn't care. It's another war. It's a free meal. No one's paying attention anymore. But we're past that now. The Great War has come and gone. The war to end all wars next, still a fair distance off. But here, a different war is about to take place. To a city that is not unfamiliar with conflict. Boston is one of the most highly contested kindred cities on the American continent. The Sabbat have been trying to take it since it was a colony, but it has been defended quite effectively by the Prince Quentin King III, a Malkavian who came here with a rather sizable coterie. Two kindred of lower generation who support him, believing him to be a more capable leader, and his knights, several kindred that blood bonded themselves to him, believing themselves to be knights of Arthurian legend, and Quentin himself their king. And while there are primogens on the council of older generation and older year, there is one thing many agree, is that Quentin is a good and fair prince, and has done remarkably well handling the Sabbats slamming on their doors. He may be a Malkavian, but in many ways exemplifies the Ventru and the Bruja of old, a warrior king and warrior philosopher, which is perhaps why the clans Ventru and Bruja, represented here in the city, actually spend more of their time supporting him than most. And while Quentin is an important figure and the primogens themselves, tonight we focus on other souls. Souls that are about to embark on a journey that will, well, you have souls. That's what's eaten during Diablerie. Tonight we'll be focusing on the start of something else. As a matter of fact, we'll be starting now on the rain-soaked streets of South Boston. On a night so cold and dreary, it's to drive even the local constabulary back into their police headquarters, because no criminal in their right mind is out doing anything in this weather. Bart Killian, a child of Boston, left and returned. You find yourself out for a stroll this eve. There's something about the rain in Boston. It soothes you and makes you feel truly at home. And as you walk the streets, listening to the rain patter against the roofs and the windows, and relying on and just enjoying the fact that no one is really out on the streets, and you're able to enjoy it all to yourself, because these streets are yours. They always have been. And once you've had your way, they will be yours, acknowledged by everyone. But as you walk down the otherwise empty, quiet streets, you find a conflict with the white noise of the rain. You hear familiar sounds, sounds of a scuffle. And they come from a block down into a small alley. As you continue walking down the street, you see a figure kicked out of the alley, a dagger in his shoulder, and stumbling out into the sidewalk before you. The figure turns with a hiss, notices you, and then scrambles off into the rain. Shortly after this, another figure steps his way out of the hallway. He wears a long cloak with a mantle that hangs down over his shoulders. He's adjusting his hat on the top of his head and is holding his chest as if he is in a great deal of pain. The hair you can see on this man's head is of a bright white and silver. He's clearly a person who's been around the world, been around quite a while. He looks perhaps to be in his late 60s to early 70s. And the man that was kicked out of that alleyway with the dagger in his shoulder looked maybe in his early 20s. The man, still clutching his chest, tries to support himself on his long black cane with a heavy silver ball at the end. And it's only as he stumbles out, leaning heavily on his cane, that he notices you. Apologies to you, sir. Did not think anyone besides myself would be out for a walk this eve.
Looks like you've been out for more than a walk. Do you need help?
I'll be fine. Thank you. Just a ruffian out to slash a coin purse. He shifts uncomfortably and starts to turn himself back onto the main thoroughfare and walking the same direction you were and hobbling with some difficulty. You've seen people walk like this before. He's at least bruised a rib, if not potentially had it cracked.
Do I know where the nearest hospital is?
Make me yeah, because things might have changed a little bit since you got here. Make me an intelligence plus... There really is nothing good for...
Streetwise, perhaps?
Intelligence history. Intelligence history. That would probably be the best way to figure that out.
I do not see history on my sheet.
That would be...
Is history no longer...
Academics? Well, it depends
right.
if it's...
Academics, never mind. That's...
Yeah.
Never mind that.
How about Streetwise?
Yes, Streetwise. I completely forgotten Streetwise was there. Thank you for that.
Okay, and I'm not using any hunger dice for this check, as far as I know.
You always use at least one hunger die.
Okay.
Unless you slaked a person down and reduce your hunger to 0. So yes, that's an important point. All of you currently have 1 hunger die, unless you're actively telling me that at some point in this evening, you have drained a person to death. That is the only way to slake your last dot of hunger.
Give it 5 minutes. We'll see how this goes. So I'm rolling 3 regular dice and 1 of the hunger dice.
The hunger die replaces 1 die of your pool, so it depends on
Right.
whether you normally be rolling 3 or 4.
I have 2 intelligence and I have 2 streetwise. So I'm rolling 4 dice.
3
1
and
hunger and regular.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, I have rolled 2 6s, a 7, and an 8.
Okay, so that's 4 successes. So yes, you are.
Okay.
Just to try and make life easier for people, any roll of a 6 to a 9, if you don't have the official Vampire the Masquerade dice, is a success. A 10 is a critical success. Anything 5 or lower does not count as a success. On a hunger die, a roll of a 1 is considered a critical failure. And getting too many of these can be a significant problem. Let's hope you never find out how severe.
Okay, so back
But
to...
with 4 successes, you are easily able to figure out where there is a hospital. It'll take some time, and it would cause him a great deal of pain to walk there by himself, but with some assistance, you could get there with relative ease.
Look, you've got at least a cracked rib. You're probably, you might even be bleeding internally. You need to get to a hospital. There's one over here. I will help you get there to make sure that you don't die in the middle of the South Boston streets.
Wouldn't be the first time, and I think it's 2 ribs.
Okay, well, let's to the hospital then.
Make me a charisma persuasion check to make him see things your way, because he clearly doesn't want to go with you after just fighting a guy in a nap.
Okay. Ooh, I'm reasonable at this. Okay. I have a 6, an 8, a 5, a 2, and a 1. The 1 is not on my hunger die.
That's important. Please,
So I have 2 successes.
please notify me as the 1 on your hunger dice. Please.
When it comes up, I will let you know. It was a 2 this time.
Oh no, that was just for everyone, for general housekeeping.
Ah.
Because I knock die all over the place.
So I think I rolled 2 successes.
You do. And his eyes work you over. And as he does, again, this is a look you've seen before. This is a person who's had to look for threats. He's probing you to see if you seem genuinely beneficial at this point, or if there is some intent to cause harm. But he eventually acquiesces and reaches out in the hopes for an arm to help him on his way.
Yeah, I'll hold out an arm for him. I will do the arm over the shoulder and help him walk.
He moves slow, so it takes you a little bit longer than planned, but you do eventually get him to a hospital. You notice as you help him along that he has a leather shoulder satchel that is definitely containing a bulge of some kind. There is something in that satchel, and it doesn't feel like coin or cash. You know what those feel like in a shoulder bag.
Yeah, and it's not the gun that's under my shoulder.
No, he doesn't seem overly bothered by that. Actually, when his make me a wits plus perception check. Wait, no, is perception still a skill here?
Would it be? Is this more awareness or investigation?
Awareness is usually what if you're trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make me a wits awareness check.
I don't have awareness.
So it's just your wits then.
Okay.
Are there penalties in this version for being unskilled? Ooh.
No, there is
nice.
not. Well, there are no penalties so long as it's not something that should specifically require extensive. Like if you try performing surgery and you have no ranks in medicine, there's gonna be a penalty. Like you may require more successes in order to achieve the goal, because you don't know how to cut a person open. without causing them to die.
I got one success.
Okay. With one success, as his arm reaches out and you're helping him along, you do notice that he also has a pistol that is holstered.
Okay. Well, as long as he doesn't reach for his, I'm not going to reach for mine.
You manage to get to the hospital, and as the two of you stumble in, soaked to the rain, and he is holding his chest, you are greeted by two nurses and a physician that seem genuinely concerned watching him now breathing in a very labored fashion. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good day, doctor. I have 2 broken ribs, possibly a 3rd fractured. Nothing bleeding. I know what that feels like. So if we could, please. Thank you. The nurses immediately start to help him along into an examination room where he will be tended to. The doctor is not very surprised that someone just walked in and told him exactly how many ribs he had broken. He turns to you and he goes, yes. Are you a member of the family, sir? Or?
Just met him on the street. He looked like he was having a problem, so I thought I'd get him here before he passed out and died in the middle of a rainstorm.
Well, then, you may have saved his life if he's even half correct about what he just said.
He sounds like he's having labored breathing. It sounds like he had a bad night.
We'll take good care of him. Thank you very much, sir. And he turns and follows after the nurses into the examination room.
I will pull out some money for his hospital bill, just in case he doesn't have any cash on him.
Yes, very well. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now, earlier when you said that the person who got stabbed in the shoulder hissed, is it like I have fangs hiss? Or was it a general, I have been spotted by someone I should not be spotted by hiss? Did I get a vibe check that was a vampire?
It kind of sounded like both. It didn't quite sound like a kindred hiss, but it was definitely not a normal, not a mortal hiss.
Wasn't something that it should have sounded like. Okay.
But that also could have been just because of the rain. It's coming down fairly hard. You couldn't even make out the face of the person that was kicked into the alley. The dagger was just sort of protruding and easy to notice.
Okay. Just thought I would file that away for later.
Well, at Humanity 7, you can more easily drink than most, and a night like this, an adventure like that, oh, that's right, you're Humanity 8. My apologies. At a Humanity 8, you can definitely drink easier than most.
You're and the nicest vampire in Boston.
Yeah, we'll see.
Only until House de Sable moves in. Anyway, you don't have to know who they are. So yes, on a night like this, might be nice to step out of the rain for yourself, and you might want to see if anyone else knows what might be going on. And you know that there is a speakeasy in this area that's currently run by a Ventru that's been making a bit of a name for herself in the city, and thus far, she hasn't come across of the type to talk down to the Brujar gangrel of the city, which is refreshing for a Ventru. And also seems to be offering reasonable rates for a speakeasy to all of the working folk here in Boston, which, again, as a man of the people, I would say you appreciate, probably.
They sure they're a Ventru. Sound like a Ventru.
Well, now's as good a time as any for you to find out.
Yeah, let's go check in at the speakeasy and see if we can figure out the who, the what's, the whys.
Dear Isabel,
Hello?
It's a busy night tonight.
Yes.
Everyone's come off their shifts, and while many ran home to avoid the rain, more than a few wanted something to warm the chilled bones before they headed out. So you have an unusually crowded taverna tonight. You are slinging whiskey and beer of certainly better than average quality, but that's because the kindred have connections. And there have been kindred who you've made business ties with that have allowed you some of their not bathtub stock, which automatically makes you a more appealing place for people to go and drown their sorrows. Also, you're much less likely to cause all of your clients to go blind.
Of course.
Which they appreciate because they can continue working.
Of course. Well, of course of course I should do that. After all, that's how I. It's how I it's how I make my living. And it's of course, well, let's just say I prefer that some of my meals go home a little let's not too addled as things go. After all, I don't want this place to get a bad reputation among kindred or mankind.
Also, in weather this bad, there aren't any cops walking around, making it much easier for people to walk in and out at their leisure. You're not unaccustomed to kindred coming in to prowl themselves, so long as they don't cause any bit of a problem. There's usually more than enough to go around in your larder. But
I enjoy the double. I like that double meaning. That was very good.
But this evening, you're greeted by a unique appearance. As the door opens and a rain-soaked figure steps in, and you watch as some of the Bruja regulars in your bar take a moment, look to the door, look back, and then turn their heads back again. As actually, would you like to describe Bart Killian as he walks into the speakeasy?
You see if I actually wrote down a description. I usually do. Give me a second. I will let you know.
Well, while you look that up, Isabel, why don't you describe yourself as someone who I assume is going to stand out when Bart walks in?
Absolutely. There's a lady in flapper dress. Her face unwrinkled. Couldn't be older than maybe 20 when she was alive. Though her pallor the pallor of undeath has yet to set in. But of course, any kindred knows that with her regal bearing, her easy, you know that like long cigarette holder thing? She definitely has one of those.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Pretentious.
Yes. Lounging easily. Yes, lounging easily on the chair with a bearing of someone who knows that she's in charge. Despite that, speaking easily and animatedly with some of the Bruja that were hanging out here. And when her conversational partners, next to her is of course a lady dressed, is a stately older woman who seems at least mildly disapproving of, who seems just like a general bearing of vague disapproval of everything, but who is currently holding her coat and mostly she's like managing things in the background. This is just clearly a helper person that accompanies her. What did I name her? This five. And as all of the Bruja turn to look at this newcomer, she raises an eyebrow at that.
All right.
And who might this man be? I was unaware of any newcomers into my establishment here.
Bart is a 6'2", fairly light-skinned man. He's got red hair, green eyes. He is dressed in probably the most well-tailored suit that's in this part of the city. He's got a bright green vest underneath. He's got a darker green tie, but it is a black-on-black suit. He's wearing a bowler hat, and he's carrying a cane, and he has a overcoat because it's raining. And he's wearing gloves.
Incidentally, not that dissimilar to how the gentleman you just helped to the hospital was dressed. Good to know.
He's just older and grayer.
and certainly looked a lot wealthier than someone in this part of South Boston.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, who were you asking about the gentleman who just walked in, Isabel?
Well, I was probably I was imagining I was like sort of having a conversation about like some like about like about hearing from like an older Bruja about like a few stories that he had to like tell about, well, some of his past stuff, because I'm imagining like you get all sorts in here. And I was, but when he turns to look at Bart, I ask, and like with the double take happens, I sort of like lean and ask, who is that man to like get to garner so much attention?
I'm surprised you don't know. That man's Bart Killian, old son of Boston come home. Bit of a businessman himself.
Have I heard this name? Does this mean anything to me?
Make me a, what would this be? This would be an intelligence, call it politics.
Intelligence politics. All right, I am trained in that, so that's going to be.
Because this would deal with kindred politics as well as general business politics.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm supposed to have selected this. I think I'm supposed to have selected this specialization for that, but whatever. So
we can settle that one a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll deal with that later. For now, it's so that's 4 dice and 100 die. Yeah.
Yes.
3 intelligence, 1. So where do I roll that? In the.
Are you using the electronic dice roller?
Yeah, where is the electronic dice roller so I can use that?
Jay put them in the Discord.
Yeah, like what channel do I use for that?
If you check the Zoom chat, the link was just put up.
Oh, sorry, it's an actual I thought it was in the Discord. I am sorry. So roll
we
4
have
dice,
not yet-
100.
We have not yet had occasion to police players' dice, so...
Well, I got
roll 'em or
one.
get 'em.
Well, I got 1 success.
Okay.
That's not great.
You do not burn down your bar with a politics check.
But with the 1 success, you heard the name Bart Killian before, but it's always been in passing, overheard from someone else's conversation. It was just a name, almost in one ear, out the other.
I've heard the name a few times. I wasn't aware it was a name of distinction. I wasn't aware of it was a name of distinction. Old son of Boston, eh?
Yeah.
And I get up and I walk over to him, bright smile on my face, and I sort of like just sort of walk up to him, just head start back as I look fairly up as my 5'3", my 5'3" has looks up at this very large man saying, "Hello, I wasn't aware of a new, or from what I've heard, very old face in town. Isabel Quincy, the proprietress of this establishment. A pleasure to meet you."
It is a pleasure to meet you. I'll buy a round for the house.
Cheers
Big spender.
from kind and kindred alike at the mention of a round on someone else's tab.
Isabel raises an eyebrow. Interesting. A first man in here and a round on the house. You certainly know how to make an impression.
It helps to know what the people want.
Indeed it does. Indeed it does.
I do have a question, though. Something that I wasn't expecting to see tonight. Something odd in the street earlier.
I'd heard a bit of the commotion. Some sort of. I wasn't really looking into it. But we all heard. Let's just say that, like, I admit that usually when it comes to this kind of establishment, when you hear weird crashes outside, it pays to look the other way a lot of the time. But it sounds like you're asking for something a little more specific.
Something odd on the street that I'm not sure what it was. I'm not sure what I saw, but something that everyone else might want to keep an eye out for.
And what was it exactly?
Kid, maybe 20-something, dark hair, dark clothes, had a knife sticking out of its shoulder.
Well, that's
Beat the piss out of an old guy.
One of us then?
Don't know.
Don't know.
Not the vibe I got, but it was raining pretty hard. Could have been something, could have been nothing. It may bear investigating.
Indeed it may. Miss Violet, you have the. Do you mind handling the place for the rest of the night?
No, not at all, Mistress.
Miss Violet is the sorry.
Yeah, as Miss Violet, the slightly older woman, is currently eyeing up and down Mr. Killian in a very it's not quite judgmental, it's more scrutinizing. You get the impression that this is a woman who's been accustomed to seeing men in fancy suits who dressed as gentlemen but weren't always gentlemen, if that makes sense. And she seems quietly overprotective. But she otherwise steps out of the way and allows Isabel to lead you to the back office.
Mm-hmm. Right, and Isabel like takes Bart to the back and asks, I might not be like the greatest investigator here, but I know some people, certainly. In fact, you said it was one person who was like on the streets. I do have a contact in. I do have a contact who might be able to help you a little more on the street level of those things. He's well, shall I say we're closest? Shall we say that we've been? Well, we used to be very close, and I'm referring to Vern, I imagine, for this.
Okay.
Because I figure, and if I'm not mistaken, this is the kind of thing Vern would probably be pretty helpful for.
Yeah, if Vern doesn't know something, Vern can probably find out from another nonce. They're usually pretty well connected in this sort. Yes, you wanted to say something?
Now, I realize that as a with you being what you are, you like to talk a lot and not get to the point. That is not going to work for me today because there are things to do.
Of course, she raises her hand. She looks. There's a twinge of an initial like. There's an initial like start in her as she like as you just like cut through all the bullshit there, and she she immediately like raises an eyebrow and gives a smile. My, you certainly don't beat around the bush. All right, the friend of mine was yes, my friend of mine is named Vern Quincy. He's a Nosferatu and a close friend of mine. I can make him introductions, and he would definitely be the type to be able to hunt down like strange beings in the streets. He knows people, and and let's be real, he's the best and he's damn good at investigating things. If you'll pardon my language.
There's a point. I'm sure you were getting to it.
The point was I don't know about mysterious things in a thing, but I know people who do. One of them is Vern Quincy, my brother.
Then why don't you call your brother?
That's what I was about. This is a weird conversation. I'll go do that. And she just do we have phones? I have no idea if like how I would.
They have phones, but they're connected by operators.
Yes.
What?
Does Vern have a phone number is the question, because of the fact that like Vern's
phone
a
number?
Operator.
Such a thing.
Transylvania 65000.
In the 1920s, what you would do is would pick up the phone and contact an operator, and the operator would make the connection or would connect you to another switchboard in order to complete that call going forward. There are two phone systems in any Kindred-controlled city that has telephones at this point in time. There is the one used by the Kine and the Kindred, and the one that's just used by the Kindred and their ghouls. So you have two phones. You have one to deal with mortals, and you have one to contact other Kindred. This phone system is run by the Nosferatu. simply speaking to an operator and telling them who you wish to speak with, they will be able to direct you to any of the hives that the Nosferatu will hang out in. Because much like trying to contact, for example, a boarding house or an apartment house at this point in time, there would be the one communal phone, and then you would either have to hope the person you were looking for called or yes.
You have called Shrekline. So it's Shrekline, not Shreknet.
Yeah, the Shrekerator. Not an operator, a Shrekerator.
All right. I
So,
call Shrek. Yeah, I call the Shrek line, and yeah. Hello, operator.
How may we direct your call?
Mr. Vern Quincy.
Yes. One
It's-
moment, please. Vern, you
Yeah?
are currently in the midst of speaking with some other Nosferatu about news that's come in. You're hearing that some Nosferatu discovered that there was a Sabbat coterie that had snuck into the city sometime in the last week, and that information had just been passed on to the prince and his knights, and is now being dealt with. Which is always fun to talk about, and there's a reason why the Nosferatu are so appreciated by Prince Quincy. It's because the Nosferatu are always more than happy to be on the lookout for strange things and things that don't belong. The Sabbat are bad for business, and Quincy's good at removing what's bad for business. So you're there, trading information, enjoying yourself, as you would. When you hear this is not going to sound great because I can't necessarily do the voice very well, but you hear a voice that sounds like the throat has been absolutely ravaged by decades of cigarette smoke. Then, there's a call for you.
I'll be right back then. Just like slouch my way over to the phone.
So you are brought over to one of the operating boards for this early version of the ShrekNet, and the operator takes the headset off and goes, "It's coming from the other side of the city."
Of course it is. Put the headset on. Hello?
Hi. Good
What
to
do you
hear-
want?
Always good to hear from you, Vern. And, so it turns out there's been some mysterious happenings going on in the streets, and Mr. Bart Killian has requested your services. Well, you guys are the services on someone with an ear to the ground, and I think of none better than you.
Okay.
So yes, you know the. So, where would you like to meet? I know that the new appearance is a problem for that, but would you? I have our back door for you if you wish to just come there. But or would you prefer for us to drive over and get to yours and get more to your side? I don't know I admit to not knowing the transportation networks of tunnels as well as you do, of course.
I assume the strange happenings were on your end more than on my side of the city.
As far as I know, yes. But again, it's all very mysterious.
I'll just
Right.
come to you then.
Always good to hear from you.
I hang up before she can finish.
And she looks at him with a sigh.
Sister,
Yep,
hope she pays you well this time.
she better.
Puts it back on and goes, "Yes, how can I direct your call?" And begins going back to connecting whatever kindred needs to be contacted with another kindred. Because many kindred who still find themselves a little bit behind in the technology, much like some mortals at the time, completely forget that the operators can hear everything, which is why the Nosferatu enjoyed setting up this network because some kindred who don't think about how technology works don't realize how many secrets they just put right into the lap of the Nosferatu.
He'll be here. He'll be here shortly. I have a back door. I have a back door set up for him to be able to get here without being seen.
Never mind, Art, you were in the office and heard this call, so this was already explained to you.
Sorry, let's ignore how I am bad at this. And
No,
it's fine.
Honestly, Isabel strikes me as the sort of person who would assume that if she wasn't talking to them, they weren't paying attention because she wasn't paying attention to them.
That's true. She's
So
the worst. I love her.
So yeah,
Someone likes her.
since haste must be made and you are fairly wealthy, Vern, I don't find it terribly difficult to believe that you can acquire for yourself a carriage to get yourself from one end of the city to the other.
Would a taxi cab actually be faster or easier at this point?
It might be, but with a taxi cab, you have to deal with potentially kind drivers. Whereas in the carriage, it's run by the Nosferatu with their ghouls, and less people have an issue with the, again, to be clear to any of the viewers, one of the major banes of being a Nosferatu is the fact that you are the least human looking of any kindred. So yeah.
Not to mention, how good are cars at driving in the rain thus far in history?
If they drive slow, they're okay. So long as, they don't try to avoid like a sudden dog in the street or something like that, or a kid running away from home.
But who drives slow in Boston?
Fun fact, Isabel actually has a dot of drive.
Fancy.
She learned how so that she could meet individuals.
I would not be surprised. Isabel strikes me as the sort of wealthy socialite who would love to buy a big expensive car, throw the scarf that billows behind, and just drive as fast as she can down a country road. Not necessarily well, but fast.
Fast? Hey, she knows how to drive. She's not going to she would pass a driver's test. Not that exists yet, but she would pass one if that did exist.
So you eventually make it to your sister's establishment. Joy of joys. Everyone respects the Ventru and the Toreador because they're so goddamn pretty. But who does all the work? Us, the Bruja, the Gangrel, and this city, the Malkavians. Fucking madness.
Summing up my internal monologue perfectly.
And the back door, because of course, the back door, sister dear.
How dare I upset the mortals? Slam the door open.
Isabel immediately runs to hug you.
So yeah,
Just freeze up. Good to see you too.
Always a pleasure.
So yes, would you care to describe a Vern to Bart, who I imagine is sitting in a chair in Isabel's office waiting for an opportunity to speak to an investigator and information broker?
Yeah. Vern is youngish, looks maybe 20-something, except for the fact that they've got this whole chapped face thing going on, a little bit of a hunch. I'm not entirely sure the extent to which Nosferatu don't look human. So we're going to go with that for now.
It's less that they don't look human and more that they just are terribly, terribly ugly and frightful by most people's expectations. Many Nosferatu wind up losing all of their hair. The ears become pointed. In addition to the pronounced canines, some of their other teeth often become more crooked and jagged, yes.
Or, similar to how the Malkavian clan flow works, sometimes they choose based on appearance.
Yes, that is also true. It is not uncommon for the Malkavian to try picking especially beautiful people who are just ugly on the inside, especially if it means they can get them before a Toreador rival does.
Is there even like they're like called like Cleopatras or something, right? That's like there's like a whole like name for them I remember from like the Nosferatu clan book.
I believe so, but we can double check that later if this proves to be more than a short chronicle. Speaking of, we must proceed. So, Vern, you have just been physically accosted by the overly affectionate Isabel, and you now see the towering figure of Bart Killian getting up out of a chair in her office.
This is
Must be Bart Killian. I've put out a hand for a handshake.
Shake.
It's the handshake of high society.
Art is not high society. He may dress it and he may look it, but he is very much a blue-collar person at his core.
Yeah, Vern is not.
Isabel
He's
feels
shaking hands like he was taught to, like a good upper-class socialite kid.
Isabel feels hungry for some reason. Because that's her feeding restrictions. Working class people.
So you're going to be to the point and get this and help me get this done tonight rather than talk about it for 25 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, good, useful.
I give a look at Isabel like, what the fuck were you babbling about?
I'll pay you $150 for the job.
Done.
Okay,
Very good.
I'll pull out the money here. So earlier tonight, ran into an old guy coming out of an alley. Well, let me start at the beginning. There was God, and he created things.
We can skip along on that part.
Okay, good. So, rainstorm, guy in an alley, heard a confrontation. Young guy, 20-something, which seems to be all of our collective ages, pops out of the alley. He's got a knife sticking out of his shoulder. I didn't get a good look at his face. Had dark hair, dark clothing. Hissed at me, which you've heard a vampire hiss before.
Naturally.
Wasn't that hiss. Didn't sound quite like that hiss. So didn't really get a good look at him. He was gone before I could do much about it. The guy he was fighting with, old guy, 99.9% sure he's a Kine. Comes out of the alley, well-dressed, has money, had a bag on his shoulder. I'm betting he was carrying something precious in it because, but it didn't feel like gold, didn't feel like money. So I'm guessing gemstones or something else weird. Got into the fight, had a big cane, silver ball on it. He's over at the hospital down on 6th Street. 3 cracked ribs, probably a punctured lung. It could have been a real bad sort of a night for him. I'm trying to figure out what the thing that accosted him was and why it's in the city, because I don't have enough problems.
Does the description of this guy sound familiar to me? The older gentleman.
To the older gentleman, make me, in this case, make me an intelligence politics check.
How do I do that? I am not entirely sure what the dice rolling looks like in this system.
How many dots of intelligence do you have?
2.
How many dots of politics do you have?
None.
Okay.
I have intelligence 3. I have intelligence 3, politics 1. Can I help with this somehow? Because I'm also listening. Because I'm definitely listening.
You can make the roll yourself to see if you are able to piece together who it may be. Mm-hmm. So in your case, you would have a die pool of 2 and a hunger die of 1.
All right, I have 2.
So you roll 1 regular die, 1 hunger die.
Yep, I got a crit, and a hunger die has a success. I don't think that does anything.
Am I rolling a hunger die?
Yes, you would roll 2 dice. You would roll 1 regular die and 1 hunger die because your die pool would be 2 and you have 1 hunger die.
Okay.
And you're shooting for 6s.
I got a 7 on the regular die and a 2 on the hunger die.
Okay.
Yeah, I got in my dice pool. I have a success on the hunger die, and a crit success on one of my regular dice, and 2 misses.
Okay. The description, from the knowledge that Isabel would have, doesn't sound like someone you'd normally find in South Boston.
Mm-hmm.
It's, but also sounds like any number of wealthy people your parents had probably dealt with before. Vern, with one success, you're not really making any connections, though a wealthy person in South Boston sounds really kind of off, especially if they're just kind. But with one success, you probably wouldn't have any information based on that description.
Can I roll politics?
Yeah, you can roll now to see if it like strikes you after you've helped him through the rain. It's like now the confusion of, oh, this guy had his ribs cracked and stabbed a guy in the shoulder who was trying to accost him, or so he said.
Okay, you're gonna have fun with this. I have a nat 1 on my hunger die.
No.
Okay.
But I have a 6, an 8, and a 9 on the other 3 dice.
Okay. So you succeed in the action. That's you didn't fail and didn't critical fail. That's the important thing. So you feel the beast getting a little ornery, but you're like, nope. Business now, dinner later. Sit. But yeah, no, it's nothing really comes to mind. Mostly it just sticks out how odd the whole thing is.
It's curious.
Again, the hospital is not far from here. You could always try to go ask him.
That was my second line of thought.
I will defer to your investigation experience, and I will be more than happy to assist as best I can.
And I as well. It's happening on my turf after all. I think I have a reason. I think I have a right to know.
I'm sorry, it's happening on whose turf?
This happened just outside my establishment, did it not?
A couple blocks away.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like outside. My apologies.
No. It was a ways over here, went to the hospital. You're still a couple blocks over this way.
Okay.
And besides, from his point of view, South Boston is his. There's a whole bunch of other kindred he's got to get out of the way before he can complete claiming that. But that's big picture goals.
Mm-hmm. Apologies, I misheard where he was. Still, this kind of happenstance is fascinating, and I'd love. And well, let's just say that I know how to talk to. Let's just say that I know how to talk to people, and that can be useful in smoothing things over if things, well, to prevent things from going south in certain places.
All right.
All right, then. So the three of you wind up making your way off to the hospital in the rain, grabbing coats and umbrellas as necessary. Does Vern make offer of the carriage? Or does Vern not mention the carriage to make the rest of them walk, just to spite Isabel?
Vern is a little bit of a dick, but not that much of a dick.
I also own a car if you want to use that.
Does Vern trust Isabel's driving?
I don't think her driving is going to kill me.
It's very difficult to die in a car crash if you're a vampire.
Yeah.
Well, until the car catches fire.
Well, then you just leave the car. It's fine.
All right. So you all pile into the carriage, which is still not. It's still not something that's become terribly inconspicuous by this point, and wind up heading off to the nearby hospital. The place is still relatively quiet. When you all step in, though, I would appreciate if you would all make me a wits plus, what would this be? Yeah, this would be wits plus awareness as you walk in.
2 successes. I have 5 dice for that one.
I have 4 dice. Is it 3 regular dice and 1 hunger die? I am so confused on the hunger dice thing, gonna be honest.
The hunger die, based on its rating, will replace a number of die in your die pool, based on how high your hunger is, up to the maximum of your dice pool.
Oh, okay.
Or die, whichever is greater.
I get it.
Whichever.
So I'm at hunger 1, so one of my dice in every roll is going to be a hunger die.
Yes, until you drain a person to death to slake that last die of hunger.
Or I become more hungry and then I roll 2 hunger dice in those rolls.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. I rolled numbers.
Remember, you're aiming for 6s.
Yeah, I got above 6s on all of them.
Nice.
Right.
I think I can just there.
So is that 5 successes on 4 dice? That's pretty rad.
Not uncommon. Bart, did you go with them or did you stay at the speakeasy?
No, I went with them. I got 1 success on my awareness check.
Okay. So, Vern, you notice it first, and then Isabel shortly after. The instant you walk into the hospital, you catch this scent of fresh blood. But not the kind of blood you expect to find in a hospital. This is closer and fresher. Bart with 1 success. It takes a moment, but the instant you see the startled look on their faces and the consternation, that's when you catch that familiar coppery scent.
Guess that means we're on the right trail of investigation.
Indeed.
I mean, it's a hospital. People get opened up all the time.
It's too fresh.
It's not normal.
Especially not at this time of night.
Do you all proceed forward?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right. As you're all proceeding down through the doors that led to the room where you saw the gentleman taken, it only takes a moment out of your peripheral to notice the slowly growing pool of blood off behind a countertop. As you see one of the nurses, her throat is gone and was not taken out by a kindred's bite. This is brutal and savage. I mean, if a kindred did this, they just kept biting into the neck for no reason. There's also way too much blood here for this to have been a kindred kill.
As I said,
what's
not normal.
What's the phase of the moon right now? I know that that's not how werewolves work in this world, but I don't think I know how werewolves work, so I'm gonna look at the moon. Well, I can't. I'm inside.
Moon past all the rain clouds at this point, but it should be a half moon. I mean, you can absolutely believe werewolves rely on the phase of the moon, but it should be a half moon tonight. Not that you
Just
can
in
tell.
case it's necessary, David N. Schwa redeemed +1 willpower for the player pool. Just
Nice.
in case anyone should need willpower while there's a fresh body and pool of blood. Also, it's 25 minutes to break.
Okay.
So
Actually,
you
that's
does the Malkavian Elysium happen to be a hospital?
no, it does not. Or at least not this type of hospital. But that's actually another point, is now that you're all closer, your beasts aren't aren't riling up with hunger. They're recoiling. there's something in the blood, something that smells wrong. Does someone wish to investigate the bodies? Or just go check on the person you came here for?
You two investigate the bodies. I'll go check and see if the old man's still here.
Okay.
I'm going to ignore that order and follow Bart.
So is Isabel. These two kids.
Look, you two. What I need you to do is figure out what's wrong with the bodies because there's something not right here. That means that I need people who are actually trained, competent investigators to do that. I can talk to an old man by myself.
Sorry, I'm just more curious about what the old man has to say than these weird as shit bodies here.
Besides, you're saying talk to a weird old man by yourself. This is... I don't know if I would call this normal old man behavior at this point. I'm not sure if we're going to, like, I'm not sure if the old man
is normal.
accurate.
None of this is normal. Old man walking around in the streets by himself in the middle of the rainstorm in South Boston, dressed like that? No, that's not normal. That, pointing to the ripped out throat, is not normal. Whatever's wrong with his blood, not normal. I'm not hungry. You're not hungry. He's not hungry. None of this is normal. Figure it out!
After you finish shouting, you hear the sound of shattering glass, a window being broken out from down the hallway.
Running that direction.
Any of us have celerity by any chance?
I do, but I don't have the burst of speed one.
Oof.
I have the balance one.
So
I have the burst of speed one.
Does Vern go for it?
Yeah.
Okay. So Bart, you slam through the doors, and the instant you do... Actually, I believe you need to make me a rouse check for your burst of speed to see if your hunger increases, Vern.
Okay. How does that work?
Roll a d10 and success or not.
Yes.
I rolled a 9.
Success.
Okay.
You don't get any hungrier.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
You draw on the power of the beast without causing it to stir anymore. So, Bart, you burst in the doors to run in, and Vern, you just slide past and speed your way down the hallway ahead of him. Isabel, you're left there like, Vern was here a second ago. As you bolt down with Bart following you, it doesn't take long to find the room outside of which you can hear the sound of rain and wind. The window has been pushed out, and there are 2 other bodies present here now. The other nurse and the doctor who were currently working. There reason you keep...
There's
She's
bodies.
not it.
That's not it.
Oh.
Yeah, not it.
No, you now have 20 minutes to introduce 1 or 2 new characters.
Yes. No. Trying to get to it. As you run in, you find 2 more horribly savaged bodies. One of which you're almost certain is the doctor, and the other one was definitely the other nurse. They may have been the only 3 working this evening. But the face of the doctor is... When I say the face is gone, I mean even part of the front bit of the skull is gone. It has been torn off, and you... Oh, there it is. In the sink. Oh dear. And the woman's body she is bent in half in a way that really only a kindred with high levels of potence might normally be able to do.
God, who the fuck did you bring into the hospital?
And if you run to the window and look out, you see a figure in a dark vest and white shirt running off. Not dressed dissimilarly to the fellow who fell out of the alleyway with a knife in his shoulder.
Is that him?
That, I believe, is our culprit.
Incidentally, they are moving very, very quickly. They are moving celerity quickly.
Okay.
Any chance I can catch them?
You can certainly try.
That's what I like to hear. Is that another
That would be another rouse check to first speed after them, yes.
Oof, I rolled a 2 on that one.
So you now have 2 dots of hunger. but it doesn't affect your use of the power. It's just that while drawing on the beast, you've stirred it more. So Bart, you look around this room, you see that, and then again, all of a sudden, Vern, right past through the window, boom, burst of speed, running.
You think you might hear a shit? They're getting away.
Splash,
Oh,
splash, splash,
God
splash.
damn it.
You're running. They already have a head start, and they are bursting ahead of you. You are trying to catch up. And now I need you to make me a dexterity plus athletics check, please.
Oh, no.
As you notice through the rain that their posture is shifting, and then you catch briefly the glint of a pistol before they fire at you.
Oh, yikes. One of those was below a 6, and 2 of them were above. One of them was a 10.
Okay, so how many successes did you get?
How does successes translate?
How many
6,
successes did you get?
7, 8, and 9
9
are
are
one
one.
success each, and a 10 is 2 successes.
I got 3 successes.
Cool. So that negates 3 of the damage die. However, you do wind up taking 5 points of damage as the bullet tears its way into your chest.
Divided by 2, yeah? Superficial damage?
One would normally think, but the instant that thing cracks into your rib, apparently only narrowly missing your heart, you feel a burn, an intense and painful burn. And as it starts to eat and spread in your chest and you fall to your knee in pain, you're like, the aroma coming from the wound in your chest. Oh, it's what's wrong with the blood. Oh, God. Oh, what's wrong with the blood is in my chest.
Okay.
So, Bart, you watched a bullet be fired and a Nosferatu just drop, which, incidentally, that gun shouldn't have done.
Okay. Isabel?
Vern!
Brother.
Oh, she's already. Oh, Isabel has already like. How far up is the window?
Oh, you guys are still on the first floor.
Oh yeah, Isabel. Like the moment Vern goes down, Isabel just vaults out, like jumps out the window and just like goes after to like try to like get him to like.
I'm now just picturing Isabel now running along in high heels because flapper dress, of course you are.
Mm-hmm.
Now with your raincoat open, just sparkling.
Oh yeah. Isabel's just like she's just got into like oh god that's my like Isabel, I want to be clear, like really cares about Vern and like really does like Isabel's just immediately just trying to rush to Vern's aid.
Well, while they're doing that, I'm going to walk back to the front desk and see if there's a phone.
Yeah, there is a phone.
I assume the figure is long gone by now, right?
Oh, the figure has continued running. He was actually running backwards as he fired into Vern and then just resumed his run into the night.
Does the prince have a civilian line?
There is a civilian line by which you can contact one of the ghouls that serves the prince, yes.
Operator, please connect me to person A.
Yes, sir. One moment, please. And the connections eventually go through, and then you are eventually you're left on the phone for a little bit because it has to connect from one operator to another, then down to a third, before you get the call of, "Thank you for calling King Industries. How may I help you?"
I have a bit of a situation at the hospital in South Boston. I'm going to need some specialists and a couple of cleaners.
Understood. I will inform Mr. King upon his return, and I will have some specialists dispatched to your location immediately.
You might also inform him that there is a wild card in the city that he may not be interested in having stay in town for very long.
There is a long period of silence. Anything special you can inform us about this wild card?
I just saw it do something interesting that I have never seen a firearm do to a sewer rat.
Understood. We will dispatch the specialists shortly.
Thank you. Please do. I will hold down the fort until they arrive.
Click.
Sheets over bodies.
Dominate everyone!
I can't do that. The people who have dominate jumped out the window.
I don't have dominate. I don't know what
Sorry.
you're talking about.
Sorry.
That's okay. As far as you can tell, there's no one here.
Don't worry, no
to
one can cover up
dominate.
crime like quite as well as a Giovanni. If only we had a Giovanni in this hospital somewhere. Sorry.
Actually, theoretically, you might be running into the Giovanni very, very shortly. If nothing else, after the break, you will.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, you only have 5 health dots, don't you, Vern?
Yeah.
So, you don't take the knee. Isabel, you run out to find Vern currently unconscious. The last thought that passed through your mind before losing consciousness was, that's what's wrong with the blood. What's wrong with the blood is in my chest. So, Isabel, you find Vern laying in the rain. And again, once you're within range, that smell, that wrongness catches your nostrils.
I guess to try to like know anything about it would be intelligence occult, I assume. I do not have any dots in occult though, so I might lose dice for that.
No, you would just make an intelligence check then. You just don't have the appropriate training.
Yeah, okay. So just 3 dice.
Yeah, you might not be able to hit the DC you need to hit in order to figure out what's wrong. But thankfully, there are specialists in the city that you can speak to shortly that will be able to
something very interesting narratively happened just now.
What's that?
I have rolled 2 successes and a skull.
Okay. You still, at that point, you really just, you have nothing. You have nothing. You didn't do poorly enough to enter into a bestial frenzy, and you didn't score high enough in order to actually know anything. But what you have is Vern unconscious in the rain.
I will, while I'm trying to, make sure that there's not an obvious pile of dead people.
Mm-hmm.
I will look through records and see if they started a file on this guy when they checked him in. And we did not find the actual old man here. Yes.
You did not.
Okay.
This would be a wits in investigation is still a skill here. Yes, wits investigation check, please.
Cool. I could fail at that. I have 1 success.
Okay. With 1 success, you find one name. It takes you a while. Like you find it basically just before the specialists arrive, and shortly after, Isabel probably drags Vern back in.
Oh yeah.
You see one name put down as having been admitted at the time you arrived, and the name is Arthur Ormond.
No idea who that is.
You can attempt another intelligence politics check to see if that name now rings a bell.
I will attempt to do so. I will attempt to know things.
That's all we can ever do.
Who do I call? Would I know who to call if something like this happens to a vampire?
5 successes.
Yes, there are people you can know to contact, but you don't necessarily have the appropriate phone here. With 5 successes, you read that name, and suddenly your brain makes the connection, and you're like, oh, this man is off limits. This man is off limits by order of the prince. Arthur Ormond is a protected mortal. No one is allowed to touch this man, but somebody's trying to kill him.
Oh, balls. Then I will look at Vern. I'll look at Isabel. Hope the other specialists get here soon. I'll try to help drag Vern into a more comfortable state of being unconscious from a gunshot to the face.
Yeah, are they stable, or are they like bleeding? Like, how does that look? I mean, I don't have any training in medicine, but do I like know what like?
Effectively, they're in torpor at the moment until they receive a transfusion of blood or naturally heal. But shortly after this instance, the specialists arrive, and by specialists, it is in fact a team of scourges, mostly Bruja. There are some Ventru and a few others present that you don't immediately recognize, but you've seen a handful of them present at one Elysium or another, or patrolling the streets as scourges are wont to do for the general safety of kindred kind. And almost immediately upon entering, all of them get this, oh, what's that smell? That's not good.
The other site is more gruesome.
Oh dear. Right, let's get to work, lads. And several men and women start running off down the hallway to deal with this. One comes over to have a look here, and well, this one's not embraced final death yet, as a figure kneeling down, dressed in a brown vest and matching slacks with a light blue shirt, the top 3 buttons popped. They give off kind of male, kind of female vibes. Doesn't really, like, you want to say he, you want to say she, depending upon like the way the light's hitting them, but not a major concern right now. Vern's unconscious and there's a bullet in his chest that shouldn't have done that.
Oh yeah, like Isabel like immediately says, "Are you the doctor?"
I'm the best you're going to get.
Then that's all.
Stand aside, please. Thank you.
Yes. Sorry.
One of these scourges appears to be the one in charge.
There is one Ventru who is currently issuing orders to the others, getting things cleared up.
I will tap him on the shoulder, show him the log of the admittance.
All right. She turns around. A woman in she's wearing a very nice but designed easily to move around in gown. Clearly she was up to something before somebody said, we need scourges to mobilize, there's a concern. Yes, Mr. Killian, what?
Here's the target.
Who the fuck is stupid enough to go against the prince's orders?
Someone with a death wish and murderous weapons.
Several of the gangrel and the kindred who is working on Vern. Incidentally, their fingernails have started to peel back as you watch bones extend out from their fingers, and they slide it in to function like tweezers and pulls the bullet out.
I didn't recognize him when I saw him on the street. I ran into Arthur earlier tonight. I helped him get to the hospital.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. This is problematic. This is very problematic.
Yeah.
Yep, not as problematic as this. And it holds up the 2 extended bones acting as tweezers. There's some magic bullshit going on this thing. You might want to talk to somebody in the library about this. I'm going to go tend to this at the moment. Stick it in the bag and then hands it to the Ventru. They then reach into an inside pocket of their vest and pull out a flask, and they unscrew the top and they tilt Vern's head back and they start to pour it in. And the instant it pours, you immediately catch the aroma of blood, but no, it's not just blood. It's somehow blood that smells of a person in the height of the moment, in the heat of passion, the blood that could almost be approaching dyscrasia. And you watch as Vern's chest slowly begins to knit itself together. After pouring what looks like about 3 mouthfuls of blood down Vern's throat, they then just start pouring the flask into the chest wound.
Okay, so the
Then-
venture. Sorry. The venture is called the library.
I'm going to go speak to a librarian who might know something about this, because unfortunately there aren't any Tremere currently in the city. Called back to a family thing out of town. All right. Well, I'll be heading off to this shortly, but this must be cleaned up first. Then you watch as they use their hands and a couple of tools to start sort of knitting together Vern on the inside out. Vern, you start coming back to consciousness as a person is fiddling with your chest. It's all right. Stay calm. You're going to be just fine, and there won't even be any scarring. The advantages to knowing how to use protein properly.
Scarring was the least of my issues.
I mean, if you're worried about that, can you
You're
do anything
awake.
about space?
I think Isabel like almost like rushes to embrace it, and like the doctor like holds up a hand, and Isabel's like, right, yeah.
If you don't want to have your ribs suddenly coming out of your thighs, you will stay right where you are until I'm done. Thank you. Vern, you feel right as rain by the time they're done. And the instant your vision starts to clear and you are pulled out of your torpor, you recognize the surgeon. That's how they're known. They are the only Chemise in the city. Here under the prince's protection, because apparently they have history with the prince. Most Chemise are affiliated with the Sabbat and are unwelcome. This one is special and serves as the person who helps kindred deal with injuries that would normally take ages to heal, or when someone needs to change their face because masquerade breach. You've heard of the surgeon, you've seen them in passing, but this is your first time being worked on. And okay, not exaggerations. All right. And everything's back where it belongs, and my blood doesn't smell like wrong, as that is the only way you can begin to describe that aroma. Now you may proceed, as the surgeon gets up and walks away.
And Isabel immediately just like hugs her brother.
You get an awkward pat on the head. There, I'm fine.
The surgeon steps over to the venture in charge. Well, Clarissa, this is a fun night. And here I thought our date was going to be absolutely ruined. Not now. Fine then. Same time next week? Maybe, maybe not. Apparently this person was here trying to kill Arthur Ormond. Oh. Well, maybe now we'll find out why the prince wants to protect him so badly.
Do I know who Arthur Ormond is?
You may roll an intelligence plus politics check to see if that name connects. Because you may just have your head shoved so far up your ass you're not paying attention.
3 successes.
Vern, you may roll as well.
I am going to roll.
As a Nosferatu, you would gain 1 bonus die for this. Because
Question.
you would have heard the name come up at one point or another. Yep.
Does the hunger die succeed like normal?
Yes, the hunger die would otherwise succeed as normal, yes.
Okay, so I think I have 4 successes then. It says 3 successes, but like I have 1 with 2 stars and 1 on the hunger die and 1 just
there's
normal.
Again, there's a sort of a house rule here. Under normal V5 rules, you would need to roll 2 of these to count as 4 successes. Otherwise, it would only count as 1, which I just think is stupid. This is 2 successes.
Okay, so in this case, this is 4 successes.
Okay. And Vern,
I
what
only
do
have one success.
Okay. Vern, you've heard the name Arthur Ormond before. You remember that you remember a bunch of Nosferatu talking about him. Something about him vexed them. Isabel, you remember hearing about Arthur Ormond. There is a no-touch order on him. No kindred is allowed to even think about splitting his neck. He is off limits entirely, without exception.
Has he been in the establishment before?
No.
Okay.
It is just a decree from the prince. This man is off limits. You don't need to know why. No is the only thing you need to know.
And with that, it is time for our 10-minute break, after which maybe you'll get to meet the rest of the players.
Oh my god, I hope.
I'm sorry.
If we
I
have,
am
if
outside of my depth.
You know, if it's just Charisse and Mr. Giovanni having an animated conversation about the weather for a half hour, I'm cool with that.
I apologize for taking up so much time again.
Oh no, you're fine. I mean that's the thing about it, you know.
Yeah.
I play a talkative character because I'm talkative in real life. It's very easy to get
Totally cool.
Well, while we take our 10-minute break, there are those of us who can take a moment to discuss what you two were up to so that we can properly work you into the conversation, into the narrative. I do apologize for it taking so long. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoy your 10-minute break to go grab a snack, grab a drink.
Some water.
Those of you who are watching us on YouTube, congratulations on being able to fast forward 10 minutes without having to worry about it too much.
Oh, I just cut it.
Oh,
it's
then,
awesome.
never mind.
Nice.
So those of you who are watching
Magic.
to enjoy no 10-minute break and don't mind my rambling.
And remember, if you're watching us live, you still get channel points for watching the break and can spend them on all sorts of fun things to troll the players and or the GM. Woohoo!
Please troll us. It's always fun.
Yes. All right.
The players, they might need it if they are so adamant on pursuing the man with the gun and the knife.
Well,
I didn't know there was a gun.
To be fair, under normal circumstances, the gun should not have been the issue. It was.
It's
It
like-
was the
Yeah.
bullet was the issue.
Wait, who shoots a Nosferatu and lives? What? That was your first clue. Something utterly strange was going on. All right, so chat, we'll see you in 10 minutes. Bye! And we are live again! We live
Yes.
and maybe are audible.
Hello.
Woohoo!
This is audible.
Woohoo!
And welcome back.
Woohoo! Chat, can you hear us?
We are audible.
Fantastic, thank you, Maud.
Where are we?
All right. Now then.
Meanwhile,
Now we shift over to Charisse. Currently enjoying some time in the Malkavian Elysium, allowing herself a bit of time outside of the library, and also out of the rain, a good place to relax, unwind, and to sip from the open-minded kind that find themselves drawn into the Malkavian dens and lifestyle. So easy enough for you to get a nip.
oh, I have a
drink
head for that.
Draining them dry is not usually
No!
did, but
I don't do that.
No.
Ever.
there it's not uncommon to find other kindred present here. Primogen speaking to the prince, scourges who have to make their reports, the sheriff, obviously. But there is another fellow that you've had showing up in the Elysium lately because there is no Primogen to represent them because the Giovanni clan are not yet part of the Camarilla. So as you are sitting there with a book, sipping at something, you see an acquaintance that you've made recently, Nicola Giovanni, come here from the old world to help plant the family flag, as it were. Having come in a short while ago and made overtures to the prince to allow him to function in independent quality so long as he adhered to all of the rules and understood that he had no technical say in the political goings on because, again, the Giovanni are not a Camarilla clan and do not have a primogen. But so long as he obeyed the rules, everything would otherwise be fine for him and he could continue to do business. And the Venture and the Toreador have certainly been enjoying it because he has been providing them with better quality Italian wines to supplement the French wines that they've been getting in from other distributors. And in a few rare cases, German wines and German beers. Better than the stuff the kind have been making. So you see him enter here because, again, Nicola, if you're not at home or doing business, you don't have many other places to be at this point other than the Malkavian Elysium. It's your other safe harbor. And at this point, you've got employees doing all the deliveries. So you're fine for the evening. And you see your good friend Charisse, one of the few people who's been
Nice.
very open to talking about you and not at all disturbed by the use of oblivion to speak to the dead, something that greatly disturbs a lot of other kindred.
It is a rarefied art, but I am so glad to find something of a, well, kindred spirit in Ms. Wolf.
Oh, good evening, Mr.
Was that a pun? My English is so poor. Good evening, Ms.
Good evening. Dreadful weather we're having.
Not fit for man or beast.
Luckily, we are neither. Yes, so what brings you to Elysium this evening?
I have something cooking on the stove at home, and it's being tended to. So while it simmers and brews, I thought I'd take the air a bit, see what's happening here among the night folk. And
well,
you?
More or less the same. I don't have much to do with regard to my own personal business in the city, so I thought I'd come and see if anything was up at Elysium, and apparently there's nothing going on at Elysium, which is, I suppose, good in the long run, but a little boring at the moment.
I can imagine. Anything of a... What's occupying your mind these nights? What are you working on, thinking?
It is, more or less a missing persons case that brought me to Boston. So, I am more or less waiting for leads.
Never been to Leeds.
It's been a while for me.
Missing person. Someone who doesn't want to be found, or someone who's gone?
According to my own, shall we say, otherworldly connections, he very much wants to be found, but is not quite sure where he is.
There are ways to call wayward souls home.
Oh. Yes, I'm well read in some of the arts and subjects, but unfortunately, my family doesn't have quite the same proclivities as yours.
And that is why we are seeking to make friends in new places.
Of course. I must say I've heard about your family in many circles, but I believe you're the first I've met.
It's so. When the great powers were sailing around the world and making landfall in other places, we were busy with other matters and never really found our way here. The conquistadors did not bring us, neither did the pilgrims. So we stayed home, largely to stay out of trouble. We'd gotten into trouble some time ago. And now we are better suited to travel than we had been before. So yeah, there are no great houses here in the Americas. But I'd like to see that change.
Well, apparently the 20th century is one of progress, or so people keep telling me.
Oh yes, speed is the word, according to Mr. Marinetti. It is the railroad train and the automotive and um, faster and louder. That's the way of the future, they say.
Yes, the trains are very loud. It's a little disconcerting. Fast, yes. Loud, I'm not sure I can handle this. I hear it's worse in New York.
Now there's a city I'd like to visit someday.
Well, I mean, it won't be long from here by train, so perhaps soon you'll get your wish. Oh, wait. No, there's a reason we don't go to New York. What is the reason we don't go to New York? And she starts flipping through her notebook. Question, GM, is New York currently held by the Sabbat?
At this point, New York is currently the second most highly contested city.
All right.
The difference between it and Boston is the fact that they're actually large enough populations to fight in the middle of the street. New York is basically divided down the middle between the Camarilla and the Sabbat, with the Anarchs helping the Camarilla more than the Sabbat, which is the only reason the Sabbat, who are technically more populous at the time, have not actually overrun them.
Right.
The Anarch gangs of New York.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it doesn't sound like the Camarilla are much more than gangs themselves, given all of the, well, outright war.
I would never speak poorly of the Camarilla as a guest of Mr. King.
I would never entrap you in that, my friends. That is what my entire clan is for. We are here to speak off the cuff about everything, I understand. Because someone has to. But someday, New York, if things ever quieten down. I guess it doesn't seem like much is going on.
Now you've done it.
Oh.
There is the ringing of a phone
Oh dear.
off in the main parlor, and the phone is answered.
I have heightened senses on all the time. What do I hear?
If you have something like heightened senses, please inform me, because there are times you'll pick up on things that other people won't, or ahead of other people. So please let me know.
Charisse is one of those compulsive heightened sense Malkavians.
Charisse, put your Malkavian ears here.
That's fine. Just going forward, if anyone does that, just to make sure I know. Yes, hello. Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, I'm sure there's someone here who'd be able to answer that question. Why? Oh. Oh, dear. Oh, the prince will not be happy to hear that. Oh, there's going to be a blood hunt after this. Right. I'll get right on that. Thank you kindly. Click.
And it's all my fault.
Out of curiosity comes the voice of a Malkavian woman who looks like she's about 17 years old and is significantly older than you in actuality. Leans into the sitting room where you and Nicola and several other Malkavians happen to be lounging, some indulging themselves, some attempting to expand the mind and tap into the web. Out of curiosity, I never bothered dealing with the occult. Is anyone here familiar with the occult or magic or blood sorcery or used to be a mage or something?
I have some experience.
Thank you, darling. The sheriff will be arriving shortly.
This is big trouble.
Oh, yes. Incidentally, everyone, I need you to pull your heads out of your asses, because when the prince gets back from hunting down that Sabbat coterie, he's going to want to go on a blood hunt, because Somebody went after the untouchable.
Oh.
Couple of the kindred are like, huh? The ones that are expanding their minds are still sort of like,
Can I do something with my 2 dots of vitamin mulk to get the 2 trancers here? Just like gently tug, like real mundane world. Over here.
You can try, but she was going to do something that was going to pull them out anyway.
Oh, okay.
So-
then I'll let her do that.
Someone's trying to kill Professor Ormond. Wake up! Oh, okay. Yep. Yes, ma'am. Right away. On our feet.
Does the name Professor Ormond ring any bells for me?
Or me?
You may have heard it at this point, so you may both make intelligence politics check.
So that's 5 dice for me, and one.
Don't forget, one is hunger die.
One is a hunger die.
Yep.
Ooh. So 10s count for 2 successes?
Yes.
Then on 5 dice, I got I got 6 successes on 5 dice.
Okay.
Never heard of him.
But you haven't been in the city terribly long. That's fine. Charisse, you've heard the name Arthur Ormond. You know he's off limits. The prince said he's off limits. If somebody's trying to kill him, there's going to be a blood hunt that could turn the city upside down.
Well,
no one knows why the prince wants to protect Arthur Ormond, but what you know is that if the prince said no, everyone obeyed.
Meanwhile, the prince is off hunting a Sabbat coterie, and someone attacked a person under his protection, specifically. Are the current whereabouts of Professor Ormond known? I ask the lady who was talking on the phone. The elder Malkavian.
No, not at the moment. Though I'm now going to send runners out to inform the knights and the prince, and hopefully they will find him and escort him home. Otherwise, they're going to check his home. So, yes, everyone, off your asses. There's work to be done. And she turns around, and the other Malkavians are like, right, yep, time to do work, yep.
At which point, I deftly get up wearing clothing that was almost fashionable in 1890.
Yep.
No problem. Nicola's wearing an Italian wool suit, sort of fancy waistcoat. He's got a walking stick that he carries with him, ornate solid wood, very heavy. His hair is more pomaded than mine. His mustache is, well, in addition to being real, finely waxed.
I would say Charisse looks to be in her mid-20s. She is unusual. She is a bit scrawny and pale, maybe a bit more than vampires can usually get away with looking. Like, she's not an Nosferatu, but a lot of people are probably like, you should use a bronzer. You should maybe wear whiter clothes. And she's just, like, not listening.
Got it. Nicola's...
I hear bronzers are all the rage these days in the 1920s.
Actually, in the 1920s, I think you'd want to make your skin even paler with that, that arsenic tinged makeup.
True.
And then those beautiful green arsenic dresses.
My dress is black.
Nicola's skin was more olive toned. Now it's more ashen because of the embrace. And he's a bit squarer. Shoulders are a bit broad, kind of boxy. He looks to be in his early 30s, but has a certain vitality about him nevertheless, so to speak.
The exciting vitality of a businessman building his business.
Absolutely. A businessman. A family man.
Indeed. Well, Mr. Giovanni, I would not presume to tell you you have to accompany me out in this terrible rainstorm, but would you like to come along for some interesting occult investigations?
Why, madam, I certainly wouldn't let someone walk out in a night like this unaccompanied. Happy to join you.
I knew you were a gentleman. I knew it. A proper gentleman. And I look to Elder. Does Elder Malk have a name?
Yes, her name is Lorelei.
Lorelei, where am I off to help? Or, oh no, the sheriff is coming here.
Yes, he is. She will be here shortly. She is bringing the surgeon and a couple of witnesses. And
The sheriff's name?
The surgeon? Goodness.
sorry, what was the question?
The sheriff's name.
The sheriff's name was Beatrice.
Beatrice. Thank you. The surgeon?
The surgeon's a bit like you. Not quite an independent clan, but someone here under the protection of the prince.
Another profession.
Of a sort. So yes, the prince's guarded library is down here. That's where you will find the any books that you might be able to access there, because we can't get into the Tremere vaults because those suspicious little bastards, they keep putting seals on everything to keep people from going in to take their precious books.
I mean, to be fair, do the Tremere really know anything useful?
Oh, well,
Surprised.
they know how to attempt to commit genocide against a well-established clan from centuries ago. Lorelei has never liked the Tremere.
Neither have I.
Yeah.
That we have that in common. Most
Lorelei
Malkavians
gets a
don't.
look, a blink, and then his face becomes another mask of gentility.
Yeah.
Charisse
point
does
to
not
pick out.
notice that at all because she's busy talking shit about the Tremere.
There is a very small population of Salubri in Boston. Very small.
Really?
Only 4.
That's like
4
half of them.
Of 7!
Of 7?
In this continuity, there's more than 7,
Okay, sure.
because I like the Salubri, so I want
Sure.
them to be
Oh,
around.
so
No,
there's
no.
8, and that's an even 50% of them live in Boston.
No, it's all right.
So there are 4 here. One is the Keeper of Elysium, for when there are big clan gatherings, and another one happens to be Lorelei's paramour.
Huh?
So Lorelei, who's been with her partner for a very long time, has a almost equal disdain for the Tremere that her paramour does.
Oh, the Salubri is her paramour.
Yes.
Ah, yes.
The Keeper of Elysium doesn't hold the sins of Tremere against the Childer, because yes, they have benefited from his act, but they did not participate in it, and I cannot blame the children for the parents' sin. And as Keeper of Elysium, I have to treat them all as equal. If Tremere or any of his direct children walk in here, I reserve all rights to tear out their heart and watch them expire before me. And the prince went, absolutely. Should they ever wander in here, you're more than welcome to try, because if Tremere or his children walk in here, they're probably going to start shit, and we're all going to have to murder them.
Well, you know you're in a well-established Malkavian population when every clan meeting starts with everyone turning off their auspex and screaming at the top of their lungs for 30 seconds to make sure to deafen any of the Tremere that are listening. That's how you know, yeah, this is a Malk town.
Yeah.
Prince or no prince, we know what we're doing here.
Again, the Tremere are not a terribly big population here. The Tremere...
There's
probably-
a Slubri.
Yeah, the Tremere are a very small population here. They're bigger than the Salubri, but their population only adds to about 12 or 15 kindred in the city right now. The Ventru, the Toreador, the Bruja, they're all much larger populations, and the Tremere know better than to start shit when, yeah, we can do shit to your blood, but we can only do shit to your blood at a certain speed, and we can't get all of you before we're dead.
Anyway, task at hand.
Task at hand. You are brought into the resource lounge, and then a short while later, the sheriff comes in with the surgeon, dragging in Isabel, Vern, and Bart. These are figures you've probably seen at one Grand Elysium or another, having been brought in for the major proclamations when the prince has to pass down a major decree or another, or to actively have to promote or dress down a member of kindred society in order to make a point. How well you know each other, you didn't necessarily all float around in the same circle, so you've seen each other, but sort of meh.
I mean, I dare say the Malks and the Nos generally are cool with each other.
Yeah.
In any given city, usually.
So, she comes
Good
in.
evening.
You're the occultist?
Yes.
Good. And she tosses you a small leather pouch. Look at that. Tell me what it is, because it was fired from a pistol and dropped a kindred.
Dropped? As in...
Vaporized almost immediately.
Wait, like...
I took one hit and I was done.
These euphemisms are charming. You mean torpid?
Yes.
It wasn't even in the heart.
She very gingerly opens the bag and looks inside and is like, oh goodness.
So when you look inside, you find a bullet that has a symbol carved into the head of it that has remained mostly intact, and there are inscriptions going almost entirely around this bullet. You're looking at how much stuff is carved into this bullet, and you're wondering how in the fuck it ever maintained stability and didn't just splinter.
Well, probably magic. Blah blah, because magic. But does it look like the bullet was cast in this manner or carved?
That would be a
Crafts roll.
Good thing about a doctor.
craft might not be a terrible option here, but yeah. So this would also, I would take intelligence craft or intelligence investigation.
Intelligence investigation is a better roll. So 4, 5, 6 dice, and one of them is evil.
One of them is
16.
hungry.
One of them's hungry. And its standard diff is always 6, right?
Yes.
Okay. Does it matter if I rolled 1-1 that isn't on a hunger dice?
Just a 0. That's just not
Okay.
a success.
It
Just not-
doesn't.
Okay. I have 3 successes. Also, oh wait, did I get a bonus from us having my heightened senses on? Fuck,
Yeah,
I
you can
forgot.
roll one more die.
Typically, heightened senses lowers difficulty to 4.
Oh. Well, in that.
Well, here's the thing. That lowers the number of successes. On the case of the die, it's always a 6 or better. Unless you're using old 20 rolls.
I beg to differ, but I will give it to you.
Okay. Oh, okay, no. Alright, so 3 successes.
As
7,
you're
8,
looking,
9.
this was very clearly carved. It was carved very finely, almost as if someone somehow managed to carve it with a needle, because the inscription is all very, very fine.
Do I recognize the kind of metal?
That one would be an intelligence science check.
I have no science, so that'll just be straight intelligence. And you go to dice jail. So that's just 4. okay, I rolled no successes and 2 1s, and one of the ones is on my hunger dice. So
That is a
I
bestial
burned
failure.
down the Elysium.
Do you
Um,
eat blood?
You can. Is this Do you have any non-hunger dice that you wish to spending willpower for a reroll is a thing we can do at this time.
Oh,
Absolutely
yes.
it is.
So, spend a willpower.
I will.
You cannot re-roll hunger dice when you burn willpower,
Okay. But
but you can
So
re-roll
any
your
of the dice, you reroll up to 3 dice that
Yes.
did not succeed.
Yes. So you mark off 1 point of willpower, and you can re-roll 3 non-hunger dice that did not succeed.
Okay.
But you have to take the new values.
Oh, well, that's good because it's an 8, an 8, and a 7. So now I have 3 successes and am more hungry. I assume.
No,
No?
you
Oh, okay.
you didn't become more hungry at that point. That's
Oh.
rouse checks that do that. So to the audience at home, important rule clarification. But yes, as you're looking this over and you're trying to examine it, no, you can't identify this metal at all. This is not a type of metal that a bullet would normally be made from.
Dice jail for 1,000 years. Okay. And do I recognize any of the writing, symbols, inscriptions? I have, well, it's probably not French or English, otherwise you would have said. I have Ancient Greek, some form of Ancient Egyptian, I have to double check which one it is, and Latin.
Clarification, they're not written in a language. It's all spellcraft.
Okay,
So this
then
would
I'll
be an
write...
intelligence check.
This would be an intelligence...
Occult check.
Okay. Roll again. And that is so that would be a roll of 8 dice. Based on how many because Mr. Giovanni mentioned that optional rule before.
Yes.
Do I just
In this instance, the number of successes you get will dictate how much information you would acquire, and the number of successes required to be able to identify the very obscure bit of lore that relates to everything on there exceeds your number of dice. Or rather exceeds is your number of dice is not right to just pass that if you were to gain all of that information. So this is more of a you gain something on 2 successes, 3 successes, 4 successes.
You can't take 10 on this one, unfortunately.
No.
I'm gonna need more dice. Hold on.
While Charisse is looking at the object, can I peer over at it?
Sure.
Yeah, she's not keeping it super close to the vest, and she's not picking up the bullet because it apparently put a Nosferatu into torpor, and that's terrifying.
So it's covered in occult script. It's carved in the metal. What might I know about? Let me take a look.
Roll all the dice.
You can make me an intelligence history check.
History?
Yes.
By which you mean?
Oh, that's right. History is not a thing anymore.
Dice jail. Academics.
Academics.
Yeah, intelligence academics here. You know what? Make it either intelligence occult or intelligence politics, because that's going to relate to where you have heard this. It would either be through your understanding of magic or through understanding through circles.
Okay.
5 beautiful successes.
So with occult, does the necromancy specialty help in this role?
Yes, you would add a die.
Fantastic. Give me just a moment.
So with 5 successes, you recognize some of these script imprints from when you were occasional.
Thank you for the raid! I'm about to learn weird shit about a magic bullet because I'm a Malkavian, yay! Continue.
When having to deal with Tremere at various 4, I will get to that in just a moment. While dealing with various Tremere and whatnot, you've noticed that they have pendants or amulets or something that have symbols carved into them. You've seen some of these before. Though to your understanding, a lot of those are holdovers from when they were mages and are not actually things that relate to blood sorcery. But you do see other things here that you vaguely recognize in what little is known about the use of Oblivion rites outside of the clans that actively practice Oblivion. So you're seeing markings on here that are clearly reminiscent of magecraft, blood sorcery, and oblivion, as well as symbols you don't recognize. With your 4 successes, and from the particular point of view you're taking on this, as you're looking at it and hearing about this, you recall hearing about something that went down in London sometime during the Great War. Apparently, a couple of kindred had been put into final death early. It was believed to have been some act of the Sabbat, but a couple of Giovanni agents in the city managed to smuggle it out because something about those deaths looked a little hinky, and if it's a hinky way to kill kindred, the Giovanni want to know about it. And as you're looking at it, the scripting looks kind of familiar to something you saw on a knife that belongs to an older member of the Giovanni clan when he was one of the assigned council, telling you to come to the new world and start planting the family flag. You had seen it hanging up on a wall, and it was one of those things where you're told never to touch. No, this belongs to the heads of the family.
This is the grown-up table. You're not sitting at the grown-up table yet.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yet.
I know my place. That's fine. But knowing that that is some kind of, so that there's death magic woven into this metal, and whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah, once I pick up on the Oblivion stuff, because Charisse is just sort of, oh, I see this. Magecraft, blood sorcery, Tremere mortal magecraft. Oh, is that Oblivion magic? And she shows it to her Giovanni friend. Look at this! Death magic on a bullet.
Yes, that is certainly that. Although,
interesting, but very disturbing. Yes.
Also,
oh goodness.
As the thing is, when she points out the Oblivion sigils, and you look at them, they look like the sigils that would be used in Oblivion rituals, but not quite. They look like they're carved a little differently.
No, that makes sense. Whatever this is a hybrid, some kind of blending of different kinds of techniques with, and you said it's my apologies, sir. You said that it took you down in one shot. Do you remember anything about the experience?
It kind of felt like it was burning. And then
Burning hot or burning cold?
It was burning hot, right?
It was burning acid. It's like dissolution acid.
Better and different. Neither. It was acid, like tearing through my flesh, and then everything smelled wrong. Like
I
that
smell
wasn't
the bag.
blood.
Isabel puts a comforting hand on her shoulder.
You smell the bullet?
I smell into the bag because I am a heightened senses junkie and possibly dangerously curious.
Oh yeah,
don't lick the bullets.
I'm not licking it.
The scent is very subtle, but the instant you put your nose in and catch a good whiff, there's just this notion in your brain is wrong. It's
what?
wrong. Oh, there's something wrong. No, wrong. And
putting your nose where it doesn't belong.
This little.
Yep.
You feel your beast recoil and just go wrong in that part of your brain where the kindred vitae exists.
At which point some part of the beast kind of goes, whoop, and she's like, no, I'm ignoring this. Can I roll a cult to see if I can identify, like, what kind of wrong? Like, is this, like, a vampire hunter's bullet? Or is this, like...
You can have intelligence occult, yes.
Actually, she's probably just... Or is So... Vern was shot... Was this a vampire hunter in particular?
Whatever it was, it was not mortal. It definitely was. It didn't seem mortal.
Like,
They were moving as fast as any Toreador or Nosferatu. Or
huh.
they were going far fast. The speed was impossible for any mortal.
And this person attacked Vern and the rest of you, or
The person was
Professor Ormond?
The person was after Professor Ormond. Vern went after them, and well,
Thought I could catch them, caught a bullet instead.
So, Professor Ormond is not kindred, but is under their protection, and you were attacked with the weapon that seems extraordinarily effective against kindred.
Can I roll intelligence firearms to see if I can figure out what type of gun fired this?
Sure.
what that means, I think, is that whoever was after. What that means, I think, is that whoever was after them was aware of what kind of protection that they were expecting.
Meanwhile, and I look at the sheriff, and I believe certain members of the court are currently pursuing a Sabbat coterie.
That should be wrapping up shortly.
Well, this might be a very effective distraction tactic if they're not done yet. Not to presume that they haven't, but this is a little too coincidental.
Based on the size and shape of the bullet, it was probably fired from a standard long-barreled 6-round revolver. Not dissimilar from the kind you may have seen more than a few folks keep as a sidearm when you're in your time out west.
Okay, so this person is after the carnage that they wreaked at the hospital is sufficient to make me think that it's probably not a human, as it looked like it ripped the throat out of a nurse, tore the face off of a doctor, and just wrecked the body of another nurse, and it was a bloodbath.
It also had a knife. It also had a knife in its shoulder, not slowing it down, right?
Yeah, when I bumped into it in the alley, it had a knife. When it came out of the alley, it had a knife sticking out of its shoulder.
Yes. You did not notice a knife in the shoulder, or Vern, rather, you did not notice a knife in the shoulder, but you're not sure if that was because of the rain or the gun. But you don't recall seeing a weapon sticking out of them aside from the gun just before it fired and caught you before you could dodge.
I mean, the magic aspect of this is incredibly disturbing, but this also, clearly a masquerade breach, clearly skills to match those of our local courts. This is either a Sabbat member or minion. I mean, that would be my first guess. I've not seen... Actually, having all this info, should I do another int occult roll? Just to, so now there's maybe Sabbat or maybe hunters. Clearly someone was gunning for this guy who was expecting kindred to protect them.
I mean, it ran from me when it saw me in the alley. Is that a fair estimation of what happened?
Wait, I thought you said this was in a hospital?
I ran into it twice. So the first time, I was walking down the street. I heard a scuffle. Whatever the attacker was, came running out of the alley with a knife sticking out of his shoulder. Mm-hmm. Professor Ormond, or Arthur, came walking up. He was injured from the fight. I made sure he got to a hospital to get checked out. While I was pursuing leads to find out what was going on, we went back to check, and that's when we found the cartridge at the hospital and ran into the magic bullet. Now, what Arthur was doing in South Boston at that time of night, I have no idea. Especially without protection.
Is he allowed
I know he was carrying something on him because I felt it when I was helping him move down the street. He had a shoulder bag of some sort that had something in it. I didn't ask because I didn't care at the time, but it wasn't money and it wasn't gold. And whatever the attack was, it broke 3 of his ribs, and he was still capable of getting up out of the hospital and either leaving before this thing got there, or we didn't find him at the hospital.
It is not surprising that he survived such an injury, comes a voice from behind you all. As now standing in the doorway to the library is the Prince of Boston, Quentin King III. Standing at as one of the few people of your height in this city, Bart. He has sort of dirty blonde hair that is currently hanging loose on his head because of the rain. He has a cloak pulled over himself, and in his hand is a sword currently covered in vitae. Like, you can smell the difference between vitae and blood. Arthur Ormond is a man much tougher than his appearance gives off. I have my knights scouring the city for him now. If someone has come here to do him harm, it is a danger to every person on this continent. Now, Sheriff, I would like you, the surgeon, and Lorelei to please continue to coordinate everything going forward from here. Make sure everyone is going where they need to, and I want it understood. I don't care how hands-off you normally are. This is a full-on blood hunt. Find me this person, and either bring them or their head to me now. You're mad, right? We're going. And the three of them vacate quickly. You five, sit.
I immediately take a seat.
So do I.
As does Isabel.
You two saw plenty of that bullet. Your hair, because that is useful. You three, to some degree or another, are familiar with this person who came here and started causing havoc in the city. You are here because that is useful to me right now. I would normally dally with pleasantries, but I do not have the time. I struck a deal with Arthur Ormond to ensure his protection because that man does things that need doing. Things that I can't handle because I have to be here dealing with the Sabbat. So, you five, one at a time, are going to tell me everything you know. And then I'm going to decide how useful an idea it will be to send the five of you out together to bring me Ormond or his assailant. Now, let's begin. And the five of you will, over the course of this, explain the proceedings of the evening. What you saw, what you know, what you don't know. All right. You five are currently operating with more... Yes.
Charisse will have a little bit of gall, since she is a Malkavian. While she's explaining what she's read off the bullet, my prince, Majesty, I don't recognize some of these inscriptions. Is there anything you are at liberty to tell us about Professor Ormond and his connection to this sort of sorcery that we don't already know? She phrases that very carefully.
This man has dealt with things older than most kindred walking the earth right now. He has dealt with things I do not begin to comprehend. Things that most people want to pretend don't exist, or don't know about, or don't care about, or have actively tried to make deals with. And those individuals, should they fall under my purview, I have given permission for him to give final death. And he has done so twice. So, I hope that explains why this man is important to me and why the things he watches over are important. Whatever he had in that bag is something that needs to not be in the hands of someone like that, because it will be bad. It will be very bad. It will be End of Empire's bad. Am I clear enough for the 5 of you right now?
Yes, Majesty.
Perfectly clear, my prince.
Mr. Giovanni, I understand that you are not a member of the Camarilla and are here purely for business purposes, but as you have already managed to identify some notifications on this bullet, I would like to officially request that you aid the rest of this coterie in solving this problem, and I'm sure we can work out an appropriate reward for you and for the rest of you as well upon a successful completion of this operation.
I am pleased to offer my services to the court.
Excellent.
I have a question.
Yes.
Given this man's importance to you and the role he plays for you, why does he not have a security detail of his own?
He did not want kindred or ghouls around him, and some of the things he deals with are painful.
Fair.
To us. Very much so.
He seemed very hesitant when I helped him get to the hospital.
My Lord Prince, whatever it is we're up against, it kills in that terrible way, but it is clearly far beyond human, given how fast it moved. But it is also Mr. Killian described the screech it emitted as different from that of a vampire. With your experience, know you of any creatures that kill like that use that sort of methodology? But
creatures I am familiar with, yes. Creatures that would specifically bear a grudge against Arthur Ormond, there are many things that bear a grudge against him that I am unfamiliar with.
Understood. Thank you.
It is incorrect to call him a hunter. He is a professor, and his research has taken him all over the world and encountered many horrible and unnatural things. You need to find him, or find his assailant. This is what I need from all of you now. Succeed, and you will be very richly rewarded.
Very good.
Very good.
And that was the quest accepted music.
Sorry about that. Let me go close the door. My mom has started watching Star Wars in the other room.
Help us, Obi-Wan Quincy.
So are we the Bad Batch now?
Do we have access to the professor's home to see if we can figure out what he was doing and why he was in that neighborhood? Or should we attempt to do this the hard way?
I advise you not break into his home. But if his wife happens to be present and will let you in, then that is a place to begin.
Okay.
But do not waste too much time.
No.
So this is not a Sabbat matter. This is worse than that. Significantly worse.
Sabbat I can handle.
Indeed.
Did the scourgers at the hospital find any footprints or trails outside? Given the fresh mud from the rain, it might not have been there. Might have been. I don't know. I didn't get a look.
You can ask the sheriff for an update on that before you head out, because I just got here. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have 7 other incidents to deal with, so that I can focus all of my attention on putting the city back together, and possibly preparing us for something worse than invasion. At which point he turns with a flourish, and he leaves, and you at this point see him walk out the door and past the sheriff, who is currently issuing instructions to every Malkavian present, and there are Malkavians currently on the phone trying to connect to every other Nosferatu hive, Toreador, Haven, Ventru speakeasy. Everybody's being put on alert. Everybody's being put on the hunt. Somebody's running around and did something that's a huge no-no. You don't need to know why. You need to find this asshole and bring him to the prince.
Well,
in one or many pieces, doesn't care.
Well, Professor Ormond in one piece. The assailant in a bag of dust is permissible.
To be fair, only you five have been assigned to find either the assailant or Ormond. The rest of the city is hunting the assailant.
Everyone else is on the blood hunt. We have another mission.
I don't know if... Yes, I don't know if we... I think we should try to find Ormond, because...
Well, I mean, the prince just told us to, so
yes,
we're going to do that.
The other guy... Also because the other guy did just almost kill kill Vern with one bullet.
I am also eager to avoid that person.
Yeah, I don't think we should be fighting that guy.
I really should not have insinuated that I was born in Elysium an hour ago, because this is just makes this all my fault.
Vern's your brother, isn't he?
I believe Vern does not espouse any particular gender.
My apologies.
Yes,
Vern's your sibling, then.
Yes, Vern and
Man tries to kill my sibling, he doesn't walk away at the end.
Believe me, if I thought that I had any, that I could handle that would be the thing. But like, when that person also is able to like kill your brother with one bullet, something that shouldn't even hurt a vampire, shouldn't even hurt a vampire. Kindred, dear. Kindred. Isabel rolls her eyes at the... Isabel actually like rolls her eyes a bit about that. It's just whatever. It's regardless. The point is, one bullet drops Vern. I am not personally looking to meeting final death.
Indeed. So if that person is also still in pursuit of Professor Ormond, then hopefully the rest of the entire kindred population of the city catches up with the assailant first.
Indeed.
Or the Sabbat, who knows?
And if we do end up running into the assailant, we need a plan.
We should work out a plan, but our primary objective should be to find Professor Ormond himself, who
Indeed.
may be able to explain some of this. I had a bag. I had a prop. Oh, some of this nonsense, which I don't entirely recognize, and for me that's saying something.
So I will ask the sheriff about the footprints or anything.
Yes, Mr. Killian. Footprints. There were some footprints in the grass and the mud. Once they were onto the pavement, they were being washed away by the rain. They lost them about 2 blocks away.
My concern is primarily that we didn't find Ormond in the building. We didn't find any trace of him in the building beyond where he was at the hospital. We don't know if he left out that window. We don't know if he left a different way.
No, from what I saw, it looked like once he'd received the minimum amount of medical care, he forced his way back out of the hospital. Okay. They made a note of it they made an incident report of it in another book, which you did not see, just his induction time. I had people looking into that and had just reported back while you were meeting with the prince.
Okay, how long between when we arrived and he left how much time was there?
Apparently he left only about a half hour, 45 minutes after you took him into the hospital. It was only the most basic medical care he received before forcing his way out.
Okay.
So you guys wound up arriving at that point another 45 minutes to an hour after that because you had to wait for Vern to come all the way into South Boston before you all headed out.
Okay.
So he left about, you guys got there about an hour and a half, 2 hours after you dropped him off. He had left 45 minutes before that.
Okay. I have an idea of. I do not think Professor Ormond would be the type of person who would lead this type of a person back to his home and threaten his family.
No.
Which means he probably did not go home.
That said, his wife might know where he might be, though.
Well, the prince said his wife might be home, and that we are welcome to ask to be invited in to see if we can determine any clues of where he might be. But yes, I also get the sense that the professor is a consummate professional of something.
It's certainly true, but like, the best lead we have is someone who knows him very well, and the only
That's
thing
not
there's
actually.
only it's not.
No, the professor, given his history of what he is and what he does, would not run home in a crisis like this.
No, he wouldn't.
No.
Still
I
talking.
have an idea.
And he didn't run to the Elysium.
He wouldn't run to the Elysium because he doesn't want to be around vampires. What, Isabel?
That is a thing that there was something that the prince said that Armand goes to places that we cannot go, places that he said hurt. It is possible that he has fled to holy ground.
That is a distinct possibility. However, with the Isabel, I need you to contact all of the cab companies in town and see if someone got a cab from the hospital in the last hour and a half, and where they see if any of the cabbies match the description, recognize anybody who looks like Ormond, and where they took him.
Understood.
Vern, could you be a superstar and contact the NOS network and see if they can also do the same thing?
You got it.
He's only got a finite number of places. If he's on foot, he's got a finite distance of where he can walk given his age and his infirmity because he walks with a cane.
Well,
He's not going to move fast.
Following that logic, it might be, well, I mean, most, I assume, of the kindred in general in the city are on the blood hunt, but, Vern, are there any places that even your clan will not go in Boston?
Are there?
There are a couple. You guys obviously don't tend to go towards holy ground. There are certain establishments that are officially off limits, but that's not necessarily ever stopped Nosferatu from, peeking into a Ventruse haven, because, it's not a crime if you don't get caught. But, you tend to stay away from the especially powerful kindred because, sneaking in on a venture of about the same generation as you, they maybe haven't taken all the same precautions a Primogen has, and also doesn't necessarily have all the disciplines a Primogen has and the highly developed fashion, and you think you're sneaking in, meanwhile they're just tracking you across the room, holding eye contact. It's like, my, that's quite a coincidence. So you can actually see me, can't you? And hear you, yes.
Well, those are all, practical, of course you wouldn't go there because problems, but, is there any place your clan will not go because it hurts? Because if you go there, your elders cannot guarantee you will come back. Things that your elders will not speak of. For mine, for that matter, can I think of anywhere that even my clan would not go?
Mm-hmm.
She says to herself.
Churches, synagogues, again, places of faith. Other than that, unless you're moving into the territory of an especially territorial kindred, not really.
And there are no lupine problems locally?
Not in the city.
Not in the city, okay. Still early, they haven't moved in yet.
Yeah, the only kindred that really have to deal with the lupines are the gangrels that exist outside the city for the most part, and even they have sort of a, you stay on your side, we'll stay on ours, and we good, okay. Maybe if the hunger's bad enough, they'll go hunting in the same general area and form a one-night pack. It's like, we'll eat the meat, you drink the blood, we don't talk about this the next morning sort of event.
You know, I don't presume to tell Gangrel how to live their own lives. I'm a city creature. I'm
But City
looking at-
Lupine, not really an issue. There was a mage presence in Boston in the late 1890s, but their chantry was burned down after an issue with some kindred. Basically, a mage wound up unmasking a kindred who had become the head of a cult, and certain kindred took issue with that and then wound up burning that chantry to the ground. As far as anyone knows, killing all the mages therein. Well, I mean, 2 of them died in the hospital from their injuries later, but...
Do I know what that is? Just... Or what it used to be, if they've rebuilt already.
This would have been on the extreme west side of Boston. No, I'm sorry, I'm getting that confused with someplace else. The chantry would have been kind of central Boston, actually. I was confusing it with a different establishment. There was a small hunter enclave on the west of Boston that didn't last terribly long.
All right.
About what time is it?
At this point in the evening, we're now pushing 11 o'clock midnight.
All right, we're burning moonlight.
There is one last thing I'd like to try, and I think she's gonna like put on a glove and pick up the bullet out of the bag. Find a little round table similar to what one might use in a seance, but much smaller, and just sort of... Actually, she'll probably put the bag underneath it, because she doesn't want to hurt the table, because that's mean. This is Elysium. And she puts the bullet on top of it gingerly. And then I will try to do an Auspex premonition.
Okay.
And just puts her hands on either side of it, kind of almost like she's at a spirit board. And just sort of like does her trancey thing. She's usually more of a bookworm occultist, so this might be the first time Mr. Giovanni has seen his friend do this.
I imagine so. I think both of us tend to do our rites behind closed doors, but I am always interested in the theosophic arts.
All right, let me double check your premonition. All right, you're going to need to make me a rouse check real quick.
I'm going to try to vaguely lick it with my brain.
Okay.
As
So first do a rouse check, so roll 1 die.
1 die.
And just tell me success or failure.
Failure. But not a crit fail. I only rolled a 4.
Okay.
Well,
Your number goes to 2.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Okay, so that's what...
And now I need you to roll me Resolve plus Auspex.
3... And with 2
two of those
hunger
dice should be
die.
red. Yep, 2 of those dice should be red.
You said Resolve plus Auspex?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my total Auspex dots, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And 2 of those die are now hunger die.
Yep. Ooh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 6 successes. Are
any of those 10s hunger dice?
No, the 10s are on regular dice. The hunger die rolled a 9.
Then it is 6 successes. Then it's the many successes and not a missing critical. So
Yes. Remember, chat, you can buy our way out of there with channel points.
So you reach out with your mind. You open up to the web that connects all Malkavians and brings you straight to Malkav, the founder of your line, possibly going straight back to Cain, depending upon who you ask. And you reach out and you explore to try and understand, to follow the threads of fate that hold this bullet. And as you sit there and you You try to just tug on one thread just to get a little something. But the instant you tug on this thread, you feel yourself pulled forward and fiercely. You find yourself standing out in the street, the rain pouring down around you. You see a figure there, dark hair hanging down over their head, rain pouring down, a knife in their hands. With one curved blade going like this, and another curved blade going like that from the same handle. You see a 3-story home on a street corner directly ahead. Lights on. A figure moves inside. You see him step forward towards the house. You see the street signs on the corner. You know this intersection. You hear the ringing of a church bell off in the distance. You hear a single ring, 1 in the morning. This hasn't happened yet, but it's coming, and it's coming soon. And at that moment, the figure pauses and begins to look over their shoulder. And just before their face becomes visible, you feel a force grab hold of you and drag you back, a protective pull. You feel your sire through the web, trying to save you from something, and you are drawn back forcefully, and all of you see as that chair goes flying back, skidding across the floor 6 feet.
Miss Lowell,
And she just goes,
are you
Good show.
what?
oh, good.
I
It's
will.
very unusual to have that kind of interaction with an astral entity. I'm frankly very impressed.
I might have been the astral entity, which was not exactly how it was alright, so... good news, something horrible hasn't happened yet, because it happens at the strike of 1 a.m. Maybe tonight, maybe another night.
Well, there's the bad news then.
Did I get a good look at the man with the knife? Or just
You
from behind?
Just before the face really came into view, you felt the protective arms of what you're certain was your sire.
Mortimer's like,
dragging-
nope! Alright, I think she'll take out her little notepad, which is just full of ink and notes, and will start drawing the knife from memory. He was holding this over his head.
I have a possibly more important question. Did you see the street signs for where this was going to happen?
Yes, I did recognize it. There's a 3-story house on the intersection of...
It could take you about 25-30 minutes to get there.
Okay. I'm going to call back to my house and tell the whoever the housekeeper is at that particular moment in time to put the dog on the phone.
Yes, straight away, sir.
And I'm going to use and then I'm going to send the dog this way.
Okay.
The dog?
Yeah, I have a hellhound.
A what?
I have a hellhound. I have a ghoul dog.
It's
Oh,
more
what kind?
true to do it, but it's not unheard of for others too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, what breed is he?
He's a very angry mastiff.
And the dog responds to commands on the wire?
As long as the dog can hear me, yes.
I mean,
I imagine it has to do with the presence of the master, but I don't know how hellhounds work, and that's fine.
They're very
So
good
I will-
boys, Mr. Giovanni.
And I am,
Very
of course,
good
calling
boys.
back. And I am, of course, calling back to the barn. I'm saying that, Miss Violet, I want to. All right, Miss Violet, I need eyes on this intersection. Something's
Straight away, madam.
Something's going to go down there around in about almost in about an hour and a half. I don't know what exactly, but I know it's going to be bad.
I have a couple locals here that are going to be more than happy to lend a hand.
Good.
So
All right.
5 successes on my call dog check.
Your connection with your hellhound is almost as good as when the gangrel do it. You hear a bark on the phone that just rings as, "Yes, sir. Right away, sir. On my way, sir. I'm a good boy."
Excellent.
What's that? Ormond fell down a well?
Yes,
Oh.
I am an evil shadow beast. I shall be good boy.
Boof. Boof.
Did
Master
Charisse
Boy.
mention a bit about the church bell?
Oh yes, there was also a church bell, so intersection, church bell. What kind of church is on that street?
That was the question I had.
At that intersection is a Protestant church.
Ah,
Drat.
Oh,
I must say that I don't have many connections among Protestants. Sorry about that.
On the other hand, you have no problem if something were to happen to that church either.
Is that
So
it?
when-
Is that
Drawing the knife and show it to the rest of the coterie. This is not the same knife you saw jammed into that guy's shoulder. There's an aesthetic to the hilt and to the handle that reminds you of the knife jammed into the shoulder. But this has two curved blades, whereas the one jammed into the guy's shoulder clearly only had one blade.
So you can make 2 sandwiches at one time.
what does that even? Do you have like one like up on like a? Do you have like a double decker thing? What are you doing? How are you cutting 2 sandwiches?
They're the
Don't
Giovanni.
think about it too hard.
It's breaking my brain.
Giovanni,
it
like
in
it
your hand.
always.
As you all sit here talking about this, the runes on the bullet begin to glow. And the bullet itself begins to dissolve into a waxy black smoke. And the bullet just dissolves away into a cloud.
I think we
I
should get
kinda-
out of here.
That kind of deliquescence implies that the bullet itself is made of a sorcerer's material.
Why didn't it dissolve now and not just immediately when it was taken out of Vern?
I don't know.
Probably has to do with the time.
I would
thi-
postulate?
Isabel,
Mag-
Isabel snaps her fingers. Charisse, you were looking at the guy, right? The guy was probably like the perpetrator, right?
Yes, the man with the knife.
We need to go now.
Well, no, that's what's a bit disturbing. You know, these things just sort of generally just end. Instead, I
Isabel
felt
grabs Charisse's shoulder.
but
He knows where we are, and he knows we're looking for the same thing that he is.
I don't think
We
he knows
should go.
No, but he doesn't know who we are because Mortimer pulled me away before he could see me. But he does.
But he knows
know...
where the.
Yes.
I point at the what used to be the
That's
bullet.
what's actually most disturbing about this.
Yeah, I think we should go. I think we should be out of this building instead of being in this
I'm
building.
not so good at this.
I don't
that-
think anyone's foolish enough to attack Elysium.
What was that?
I don't think anyone's foolish enough to attack Elysium.
We didn't
Now
think someone
you've
was.
done it.
Someone is fool. Well, hey, and you didn't think someone was. I didn't. The prince didn't think someone was foolish enough to attack someone who had immediately got a blood hunt called on him. I think we're well out of
No.
established territory.
There's no practical benefit to attack this building.
I mean, unless they want to kill us.
Which they
Wait.
might.
Oh, all
We
right.
already tried.
However, is this a location that we're looking at in South Boston?
No, the Elysium is in central Boston.
No.
Okay, yeah.
The house where the attack is going to take place.
No, it's more North Boston. But it's pretty it's not far from where North and Central meet, which is why you can only get there in like 25-30 minutes in this weather.
Yeah, but I don't have any influence in that section of Boston. so-
Have we been able to find out what Ormond's known home address is to see if it's anywhere near that?
Yes, that information is brought to you. Guess where you should probably be running to? Expediently.
Oh, so he's using his wife as bait. Oh, that's mean.
Or he's just going to kill his wife.
Yes, alright,
I
let's
thought
go.
that was implied.
Well, we get in the transportation method and go.
Does
Yes.
the prince lend us coach?
I have a car.
Oh,
I don't know.
Oh, how
I've
modern.
mentioned.
Let's
Yes.
do that.
I-
But I don't think it'll hold 5 people and a dog.
Cat, cat,
One,
cat, cat,
two.
Does
Yeah,
the
it's for-
streetcar
that's right.
run near there?
How? What?
Kitty!
The
It's a
streetcar.
hellhound!
The street car doesn't run at
There's a
11
cat we're all
o'clock.
distracted by.
Who is the cat?
This is Giselle. She is a Hellcat.
Good.
I see. She's
Ooh.
baby.
I
I
love
believe we are at our time, though, for the evening.
Yes,
are.
the alarm went off, so
We are about at the point I was planning on ending it anyway.
Okay.
Victory.
You all managed to get the carriage required, and you all tear off, perhaps unsafely so, through the streets of Boston.
there is no way this is a trap for us.
And
Wait.
that's what
Why
we
do I
fade out.
keep saying things?
Isabel is very jumpy right now because
And-
of the thing.
Anyway.
Within 20 minutes of time, which now puts you there at this point probably about 15 minutes before when your vision was giving you an idea of when to be, you find yourselves outside the home of Professor Arthur Ormond with the rain pouring down around you. As you all wind up getting out of the carriage and looking around for signs of the individual, there's a moment as you're all looking around when the rain seems to slow
Oh god, it's
and
major.
the colors seem to mute. Dead things will not interfere. We will take back what is ours. As a figure walks through the slowed rain, the double-bladed knife in hand, eyes luminescing a bright yellow color, and lunges towards the coterie. And that's as good a place as any for us to call it for the
You
evening.
monster. How dare you end this here?
That's kind of the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, what you mean is Ace is going to stop this because he is not a dead thing. The Bat Hound.
Well,
They never expect
Hopefully.
Scooby.
hopefully, all of you, as the players, have enjoyed yourselves.
I have.
Oh, yeah.
I apologize for how long it actually took to get some of you into the narrative. I will strive to do better should the coterie ever have to part for some reason. To the audience at large, I hope you enjoyed as well, whether you were watching us live or on YouTube. I'm very pleased that you decided to join us. I hope you all had fun. Please, questions, comments, suggestions, you can put them in the chats and they will be forwarded to me. And I just hope you all enjoyed yourselves because, again, that's the point. If people aren't having fun, then it's not a game. It's work.
Are we a Scooby Gang because we have a puppy?
Confirmed.
I mean,
Yes.
you could be that post-apocalyptic gritty reboot of Scooby-Doo that DC Comics put out like 10 years ago.
The what? That's a thing?
Oh goodness.
Yes.
Oh, there was a bunch of
Of course
there
it's
was
a
a bunch of stuff that DC and Hanna-Barbera did as a joint project in
What?
like the
I was aware of the Flintstones thing. I was not aware that
Yeah.
it was also a thing with
Scooby-Doo
Scooby-Doo.
versus the zombie apocalypse, I think.
Yeah. It was a zombie apocalypse involving Scooby-Doo, and there was also a gritty reboot of a post-apocalyptic version of Wacky Racers. These are
And there
real.
was 1950s Tennessee Williams Snagglepuss, which was bizarre and hilarious.
I see.
cat
it-
on a hot tin roof.
Did I talk too much just to make sure?
No, you
Oh,
were
you're
fine.
Okay.
So these are things that exist. They are real. You can read at least most of them on the DC Universe app.
I did not expect Isabel to be disabused of the adventurous notions immediately,
What do you
And
mean
then
something
her
can kill me in particular? What?
and then her sibling got shot, and she's really scared because her
To be
sibling got
fair,
shot.
I rolled
To be fair.
disgustingly well on that roll. I was not expecting to roll that many critical successes at all.
Rip.
That was
It worked in favor of the drama.
It did.
yes,
it
it
did.
did. Yes, it did. It almost worked so far in favor that you were going to have to re-roll a new character.
Also, oh my, Also, oh my, we are dealing with. Yeah, it's true. If we didn't soak like the damage, that would have just outright killed them, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't get to use the Bobsy twin lines I'm about to drop next week, since neither one of you listens when I tell you to do something.
This may have been a good teaching moment for various members of the coterie to maybe listen to the well-dressed Bruja that's used to giving people orders and might know marginally better than the rest of you. But yes, to that end, thank you all for joining us. I hope you all had fun.
And now, player outros. Woo-hoo.
Yes, so player outros.
Go by your screen, John. I'm looking for someone to raid.
Well, my name is John. I really only stream here on Magic Fish Radio, and if people really enjoy either myself as a storyteller or V5 as a system, we can continue to do this on Tuesdays, and maybe people will have fun and enjoy themselves. Who knows? We'll have to see. Tune in and give positive reinforcement.
Woo. And use channel points. Woohoo!
Yes.
You might require them very soon,
Mhm.
especially since 2 of them are already at 2 hunger.
John, do you need me to call on people?
I am not a combat character. I would be very useless during this entire bit.
Nope. Moving on. Jason.
Hi, my name is Jason. I am Desk pretty much everywhere. I am not streaming presently except here, but I'm looking forward to trying, either here or on startplaying.games. I am presently running 2 games offline, an Urban Shadows Chronicle and a Wraith the Oblivion Chronicle. And I'd love to talk more about that at some point. I'm also an editor and a proofreader. I'm looking for new opportunities.
Woohoo!
I suppose I will go next.
Okay.
I'm Dracus. I am here on Saturdays along with Chris and Zardoz. And, last weekend I made a short film with some people in a 48-hour film fest. And I got a lot of time to do editing, and I think it turned out really well. So I will link that in our chat here.
I think that.
You can find me on Instagram and Discord as actual Dracus, just like I am in Twitch chat here. So
It's very Changeling Lost and very disturbing. Yay!
Good.
Woohoo! Oh,
Zardoz.
put it in charge.
I am Zardoz at Once a Future Doctor on Twitter. I make role-playing games, I think. Yeah, I still do that.
Woohoo!
Harry.
Hi, yes, I'm Ari. I play Isabel Quincy on this podcast, and I am found nowhere because I don't do this. This is just a thing I am basically only here. Do not bother to find me online. I do not have anything I do online.
Not yet.
And the whole reason we're here, Miss Chris.
Yeah, I found someone to read. Hi, I'm at Ms. Chrysala on most social medias, and at Magic Fish Radio also on many social medias. If you want to see whenever Dracus makes a movie, or we or any of our number of regulars do anything silly, or learn more about our Saturday night game, or you want to run an indie RPG on our channel on alternating Saturdays, which I'm still trying to work out, but my body keeps failing before I can make any plans. Anyway, I'm basically the channel producer, so when my body fails, no one else is here to take up for me. Lol. But we have links on our Twitch page to our Discord, which is nice and chill, our YouTube channel, which is full of VODs of, well, this now, also many indie one-shots, Demon Hunters, and a whole lot of NWAD in space, which is far less straightforward than Vampire the Masquerade. So thank you, John, for running a game. I know you want to do fun other stuff with it, but, like, I appreciate just, it's the clans, it's 1920, it's the normal world in 1920 plus vampires. Yay.
Oh, you guys are already on the precipice of this veering wildly off of traditional vampire mythology.
Woot! And I am also okay with that.
We're already dealing with something that we've decided isn't a vampire, and Super isn't a human.
And Super doesn't like vampires.
I have theories.
I have no idea, and
That's
neither does
what makes it
Isabel.
even better.
And also, if you are interested in ever streaming on a channel just to see what it's like, I put up casting call when I have the physical energy to put together indie one-shot games. I often start those casting calls on our Discord. So, you know, join up and see what's going on. And see what other stuff we're doing and all of our links and just hang out with us. And the only people running TTRPGs right now that I can see are Perception Check. So we will raid them again. Also, chat, if there are any channels you know of that you would like to see us raid, just, like, tell me in chat or on the Discord, and we can do that too. I do not mind paying it forward and making new friends. So yes, presumably, assuming I can function as a relatively functional human, we will be running Exit to Eden and Wad in Space on Saturday. Yeah, watch the VOD. I think I remember what happened last game.
We were in the middle of a party.
Yes.
And there's a huntsman about to show up.
Oh dear, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's NWAD mixed splats in space, so I believe Zardoz plays a changeling, and...
Allegedly.
And Dracus plays an alleged mage asshole. And yeah, basically changeling problems become everyone's problems. After that time, the True Fae tried to conquer the galaxy. Like you do.
And I got to have an existential crisis. It's going to be all sorts of fun for the next 2 or 3 sessions. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be great. Anyway, so let's start the raid for Perception Studios. Thanks for watching tonight. If you're watching on VOD, on Twitch or YouTube, thank you for your eyeballs, person from the future. And so until Saturday or next Tuesday, please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we will see you for more fun, weird, nerdy, distracting shenanigans next time. Bye!